Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Novato Unified School District Board of Trustees regularly scheduled meeting. If you'll all please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, thanks again for coming. We are going to go on to the conclusion of our closed session announcements, and we've asked Trustee Scott to make our public comment on the closed session agenda. So, Trustee Scott.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I've been losing my voice, so you're just going to have to bear with me. Okay, so for closed session announcements, with respect to every item of business to be discussed in closed session pursuant to Government Code 54957 and 54957.6, we discussed with our labor negotiator, Chris Koskin, Assistant Superintendent Human Resources. Direction was given. And then for item C, with respect to every item of business discussed in closed session pursuant to Government Code 54957, public employees discipline, dismissal, release, direction was given. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So this is the point of our agenda where I check in with the board to make sure that tonight's agenda is okay. If there are any questions or concerns, then I would like a motion to accept approval of tonight's agenda. I have a first by Trustee Milrick and seconded by Trustee Aguila. So all those in favor? Approving the order of business. So that's 6 in the affirmative, and we have 1 absent. So now that we have the agenda approved, we're getting ready to move on to item 8.
Yep, I'm gonna handle that one. This is one night in December is when we do the reorganization of our board, and so Derek Nell has served. President Nell has served as our president this last year, from December of last year to now. And so we always take a point to say thank you for your service. It's been a crazy year, a lot going on. I know you had a lot with your workload alone, your day-to-day job, and this is a job as well. And so when you bring those two together, it's a lot. It's a big commitment serving as board president. You meet weekly with the superintendent for agenda planning. You're handling other situations that might arise as representing the board as a board president, and it takes time. And so thank you. You were organized. You ran the meetings very well. You kept us on task. You consolidated the conversation to make sure the staff or the person left with their direction that they needed, and we appreciate it very much. So we'd like to give you this, a little something.
Thank you.
That might you find in there that you might enjoy. You might take your wife out to dinner or something. You never know. Does anybody, Trustee Miller?
Thank you very much. Derek, it's a tough job, and we're not easy, all of us, to get along with. There are times when you have 7 different opinions, and we have to come to some kind of consensus to move the district forward for the benefit of the community and children. We went through a bond measure campaign this year, which is planning for that and understanding the scope, and then delivering on it is a huge task on top of everything else. And you provided great leadership. Thank you very much for your service to the children of Novato, 8,000 of them this year, and you should remember that for a long time, that what you've done for this community.
Trustee Aguila?
So it's always a pleasure saying great things about Derek. I appreciate you for your leadership during this year, and I felt like I was able to. You listened very well, and you addressed the needs of the community and the school district during this year. And like it was said, it was a tough year, both personally and with the bond. And so when I asked you to come and speak to a group about the bond, you went ahead, and and thanks to you, it passed, and with this group. And like I wrote on that card, you have the skill of putting 7 voices into one. So thank you again for all your hard work.
Trustee Mack?
Derek, I want to say thanks for taking care of my first year here. It was definitely a learning experience, and it was good that I had the opportunity to learn from you, as well as just learning how we do things. So, like the other 2 trustees said, we do have 7 different opinions. Quite often they're the same, but not always. And it's good that you were able to work with us all to get us all and together and figure things out. So, thank you.
Hey, Derek, I just want to say thank you for the,
She's speechless.
I know, I'm going to probably keep my remarks tonight very brief, only because at the end of the day, this will really be gone. But I just want to say thank you for your leadership on the board. It's been a great year. I appreciate how much you've worked on behalf of 8,000 students in this board. So I really appreciate the time and the commitment that it takes. And thank you.
Do you want to say anything? Oh, yeah, Superintendent Hogaboo.
So again, being a fairly new superintendent, I had Debbie to guide me my first year, which is great because Debbie's super detail oriented and had a lot of history and context for me. But the 2 things that I really appreciate, Derek, were your support of me and for staff, and you would always ask, how can you help make things happen? And then your political acumen and being kind of aware of our community and the beliefs of our community, and make sure we're in touch and we listen to our community. So, working with you closely was a pleasure. And like I said, you really support the staff, and you really want to make sure that you're doing all you can to have us be the best district we could be. So it was a pleasure working with you, and thanks for all the time you put into that. I appreciate that. So yeah, there's some movie tickets in there because now you're going to have all this extra time on your hand. And then we have a poinsettia you can give to your wife and look like a good guy when you get home. So all things are good. So thank you.
Yeah, why don't you do a picture?
That's been here as long as I've been here. Well, I'm just going to be brief. I think I want to thank all of you for obviously your kind words. It's been a pleasure for me, mostly an honor. You're an excellent governance team. Actually, you're all your hearts and minds are all in the right place. You care deeply about the community and the students and what we do here. So basically, you made my job mostly parliamentarian in nature and just showing up. Sometimes it felt like was good enough. So thank you very much for your comments and appreciate it. And I look forward to sitting down there so you can really hear what I think from now on. Okay, so we're gonna move on. At this point of the meeting, we go about the annual reorganization of the board, and we have a structure that's listed here on the agenda that we will take. But because our vice president, who is Tom Cooper, normally becomes the president, he is ill today. He could not make it, so he's resting at home, doctor's orders. So we're going to do it a little bit different, and so I just want to, officially check with the board to make sure that it's okay. That I will, I will actually handle items 9A and B before turning over the operation of the meeting to our new vice president clerk, who will take the meeting over. I think E and F is where the vice president will take over. So if you're all in agreement with that, very good. A through D. Okay, so let us begin. So essentially, I will take the new board nominations.
Mr. President, I would like to place Tom Cooper's name in nomination for the office of president of the school board in Novato.
Very good.
I'd like to second.
That is seconded first by Trustee Milrick and seconded by Trustee Scott. So all those in favor of Tom Cooper becoming our board president? That is 6 in the affirmative and 1 absent. Conveniently, it happens to be the new president. So we would now have a new president.
Great.
Now, standing in for the new president, I'm going to call for motion to, nominations to elect a new vice president slash clerk of the board. So can I have a first by trustee Mack?
Mr. President, I'd like to nominate Debbie Butler as Vice President, Clerk of the Board.
Thank you. And,
Well, former President.
and
not-
trustee Aguila?
I'll second that.
Okay. So I have a first by trustee Mack and a second by trustee Aguila to nominate trustee Debbie Butler to be our new vice president slash clerk of the board. I will call for that election. All those in favor? I have 6 in the affirmative and 1 absent. So congratulations, trustee Butler. You are now the vice president and clerk of the board. And would you like to take item E from here? Very good.
So I'll run the meeting from the rest of the time. And so one of the 2 things we do with the organization is the board, readopting our board policies and confirming our representative of the Marin County School Board Association. So the first item is I would need a motion from the board to readopt the NUSD board policy manual for 16-17 school year.
Now that I'm no longer the board president and therefore defer all my nominations and or motions, I would like to make a motion to accept for the first time in a year.
Okay?
I'll
We have a
second.
first by trustee Nell, a second by trustee Aguila. All those in favor of the adoption of the policies? 6-0. Thank you. And 1 absent. So the other item that we approve is the confirming a trustee representative to the Marin County School Board Association Board of Directors. This is, the Marin County School Board Association is a makeup of a trustee representative from each district in the county. We come together and we form a group, and it has a board and everything, and we provide professional development, and it's a good way to meet other trustees in the district. It's a great organization, so we need a motion to approve to move somebody in that position.
I'll move.
Who are we moving?
Trustee Butler.
Huh?
No?
Yeah,
Oh.
I'm for that.
Oh?
Didn't anybody? Debbie, are you prepared to
Am I
take
the
on
Marin
that
County
duty?
School Boards Association? Trustee Mack, you've done it this past year.
Correct.
Let's have a discussion.
Let's, yeah.
Okay,
Based on reading before I got here,
okay.
Okay.
the document that he had,
Oh, okay.
So,
So you were planning to continue in that?
I'm fine with it.
You
Okay.
want to do that?
Okay,
As,
So-
I second.
Trustee Mack.
okay.
So who was the first? Excuse me, I want to back up here. We got to do this the right way. So we're making a motion for the Marin County School Boards Association representative. Who's making that motion for trustee? Sounds like trustee Mack is
I will-
interested to continue on.
I will move that trustee Mack continue on as our representative of the Marin County School Board
Okay.
Association.
And I'll second.
Okay. So all in favor to approve trustee Mack as the Marin County School Boards Association
And
representative?
he, yeah,
6-0.
I want to see that hand, Greg.
Yeah. Thank you for serving again.
Thank you for volunteering.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to public comment. This is, if you have any comment you want to make on an agenda item or a non-agenda item, you do need to fill out a blue card, a blue slip, which is out in the foyer, and you bring it up to Gladys, and she'll be more than happy to pass it down to me, and we'll get you to be able to speak to an item on the agenda. So this is regarding their consent agenda. I do not have any blue cards regarding any item on the consent agenda, so we will move on with that. Does any trustees want to approve or pull anything
To
from
be,
consent?
to be clear, trustee Butler.
Yes,
Item number 10 says public comment on consent agenda, but I don't see public comment.
non-agenda public comment is number 14.
Okay, good, okay, just
Yeah.
thank you,
Yes.
just.
So
you
is there a
for
trustee who would like to pull any item on our consent agenda? Okay, seeing none, I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll move the consent agenda.
Okay, trustee
second.
Millerick is a first.
Can
Second
second.
is by trustee Aguila. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda? Okay, 6-0, 1 absent, thank you. All right, now this is the best part, student presentations, and tonight, this evening is Olive Elementary. So our principal, Elizabeth, is gonna come up, and Fran Rosoff, 5th grade teacher at Olive, will be presenting.
So I'm going to make this brief because this is not about me, but it is an honor to present one of the jewels at Olive, Fran Rosoff, who is an incredible teacher and mentor to students. And one of the things she's mentoring several of our students with is a video crew. But she also has an amazing project that she's doing with her 5th grade class. And since I was told about the time limits on presentations, I'm going to abide by that and hand it over to Fran, who will also abide by that.
Of course. Good evening, Superintendent Hogaboom and board members. For the past 2 years, my students have embarked upon a multifaceted environmental and educational process, melding natural science, creative arts, and public education on behalf of the Hamilton Wetlands Restoration Project. We call it Artworking with the Wetlands. Tonight, we are presenting one facet of the process, the Olive School Videography Project. The essential question of the project-based learning unit I created was, how can we use digital media to demonstrate knowledge, build school community, and additionally inform the greater Novato community about environmental stewardship? The final products will be student-produced and edited monthly live broadcasts, Wetlands Project video, 5th grade State Expo video, and a final composite video of all the 5th grade activities for this school year to be shown at promotion. Now, I would like to be brief and introduce my current 5th grade videography team to further explain this process. With me tonight are Nathan, Ian, Casey, Amaya, Colton, and Isabella. Boys and girls, would you like to come up, please?
The videography teams meet once a week with Marcus Ocon from Novato Community TV to learn how to use video equipment and Final Cut Pro software to produce projects which inform, entertain, and motivate students and our larger communities. Marcus Ocon has taught the video team everything we know. He has a vast knowledge of computers. He has helped us so much working with cameras, and he works at the Novato Community TV.
About once a month, the video team produces a live broadcast called What's Up Wednesday with updates from the student council and an interview with the staff member. The picture on the The picture on the left is a picture of us recording the What's Up Wednesday, and the picture on the right is the What's Up Wednesday, on set. That is a picture of the special guest who is sitting between the president, vice president, and secretary who are interviewing her, and that is a picture of, that's an example of one of the commercials we do during the student council.
For the past 2 years, students from Room 10 have been working with Christina McWhorter from the Hamilton Wetlands Nursery and artist Annie Rivetta to create work to be displayed on the Bay Trail and at the Wetlands Nursery. The student video documentaries are meant to inform members of our community and motivate them to care for the fragile wetlands environment. Here on the top left is a picture of Christina McWhorter welcoming us to the Hamilton Wetlands, and on the bottom right, is Miss Annie Rivetta, who's showing us some pictures of a painting that the students did last year. All materials used in the artwork are natural or recycled. The 5th grade students are studying chemical reactions in science, so we made our own paints from natural products such as flowers, soil, and milk. Sarah Bullock from the Hamilton Makerspace will assist students in creating hinges for ceramic tiles from glenned materials from the wetlands marsh to be attached to the interactive habitat murals. Here in this picture we have, in this picture we're making nature glue with Anna Rivetta.
Currently, the video team is working on how to use the video equipment and Final Cut Pro software. We are filming school events. We are learning how to create storyboards for this process, and finally, editing and producing the videos. We are also focusing on shooting and editing 3 projects in groups this year. A documentary on one of our teachers, a PBL documentary on a subject in school, and an original short film.
The videography team projects can be viewed on the California Coastal Conservancy's Hamilton Bell Marin Keys Wetlands Restoration website and on our Olive School Student Council webpage and YouTube channel.
So in closing, I would like to mention that these products couldn't have happened without the collaboration and generosity of many members of our community. I'd like to thank NCTV's Marcus Oken and Pam Hasley, Susan Matthews, Catherine Hansen, and Sabre Drohan from School Fuel, Mark Van Gorder from PG&E for their generous donation of $4,000, and the Jeanette Pontac Trust for a $10,000 gift for our Art Working with the Wetlands, as well as many individual donors. The artwork, as well as the students' poems, will soon be displayed on the Bay Trail on metal plaques. Currently, indigenous animal species flags hang at the Hamilton Wetlands Nursery, and an interactive fresco mural is being designed to be showcased at the nursery in the spring of 2017. Thank you for your time this evening. We were very honored to present this exciting project to all of you.
Great job. Great job. Can we do a picture? Can you guys come up here and let's do a picture? You guys did a lot of work. Yeah, good job. Woo.
Mom and Dad want a picture. Keep smiling. That's right.
Oh.
That's good.
Good job. All right, we will move on to our board announcements, and we start with our student board members. So whoever, Paige, you want to start?
Hello. It's been a while since I've been up here. I've been sick. Recently in Novato High, we just finished our canned food drive last week, and the juniors won with 1,500 cans, which is about the same number as, the previous year we had 300 cans was our top score.
Oh, wow.
So our parking lot arrows just got redone, so everyone's just trying to figure out the best flow of traffic, so everyone has to get there a little earlier in the morning. We're prepping for our fashion show, which is going to be March 11th, so save the date. It's a good fundraiser for Novato, and we really need the money for ASB, and so all the leadership students are asked to go talk to local stores to ask them to donate either an auction item or clothes for us to wear at the fashion show. And so we're working on that and trying to stay in touch with those stores. Our gender-neutral bathrooms should be done around the end of winter break, so those should be open, so we'll finally have 2 sets of bathrooms. We just, at the school site council meeting today, we found out that 66% of our seniors are A through G required, and they applied for college, which is the highest number we've had at Novato in a long time.
Wow.
And then next week is our Winter Spirit Week, right before finals. It's also Dead Week. Our student versus staff soccer game is coming up in January, and so is Powder Puff. So we're getting Powder Puff excited, like get that pumped up. The juniors are meeting tomorrow, and the seniors are meeting on Thursday and Friday. And then winter formal is the day after Powder Puff, so we're also working on that, trying to get ahead so we're not just crammed. Coin War is starting next week. So each class is to bring in coins, and whoever has the most coins donated wins the Coin War. And so the money is donated to charity. I'm pretty sure it's a breast cancer charity. Not positive though, so don't take my word for that. We had a winter sports meeting for the parents and students, and we're gonna have a couple more meetings separately, parents and students and coaches, so everybody is fully up to date. Link Crew is having a cookies and cram session for all the freshmen. So all of the Link Crew leaders are to call their freshmen and ask them to come meet with them outside the gym right before the student versus staff soccer game. And they're gonna study for finals, and then they're given a cookie if they come with their Link leader. They have to come with the Link leaders. And then the PTSA is trying to bring in food for finals week in the morning for everyone to get food so they do well on their test. And we have to promote, and we have a new schedule this year for finals, so we don't want anyone getting confused. And then the Student Advisory Committee meets tomorrow. And that's it.
Cool. All right. So for Semarin, we just ABS just held our canned food drive. For our Link Crew, the freshmen, I'm sorry, I'm stuttering. To support our freshmen, we had an academic follow-up. So this means that the Link Crew came out and they all set up. I can't remember where they set up, but they invited all the freshmen to come to check up to see how everything's going, to just make sure everything's going good and how everything is fine. Our STEM and Biotech Academies are now, you can now apply for them online. The College of Marine program is being, so, I can't read this, I'm sorry. What is this? I'm just gonna skip it. All right. So, Semarin High School has now implemented our gender neutral bathrooms, and they're readily available for students, unlike Novato's. Yeah. Our winter sports have begun, and we have a green and gold wrestling tournament sometime this weekend. So, that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Miller.
Nothing to report this evening.
Okay.
Thank you.
Trustee Aguila.
I have nothing to report, but I would like to thank, in the consent item today, we had donation, and we had saxophones donated to MSA. So I believe it's anonymous, and so I just want to thank, it's $850 plus $1,150 for matting materials. And so I'm not sure who donated those, but I just want to thank in behalf of MSA.
Thank you. Trustee Mack.
Yeah, last week was a pretty busy week. Had an opportunity with Mr. Mark Silva to tour MOT, and I learned a lot about what we've got out there that a lot of us don't see. So between maintenance and operations and then the buses, and there's obviously, we probably should pay some more attention out there because I think they're still kind of living in our pink slip days. So anyway, we'll talk about that when we get to it. But as well, went to the CSBA conference last week with a number of the board members and Jim, and attended a number of sessions, but the ones that really popped up were around computer science. Saw a session that advocated for the idea of an immersion school for computer science, where kids start learning computer science as early as kindergarten, with the target of being able to do full-blown Java programming using Minecraft in 4th grade, and ultimately to take the AP computer science class and pass it as freshmen at high school, and then go into college and dual enroll and take college computer science courses. It's extremely successful in the Cajon district where it's coming from. So want to talk more about that when we have time. As well, teacher retention, ideas for that. I forward those the notes from that off to staff, so see if that will help us. Had also a very good session about teacher housing and the various pros and cons of the various approaches we can take. Needless to say, when people found out that we have some assets available to us, they were a little jealous because we are in a pretty good position in that regard. And last but not least, I had a session that was branded as school branding, but ultimately it was about school choice, but it brought us some interesting ideas about potentially developing unique charters, wrong word, but public schools, unique focuses, if you will, for schools to allow for kids to choose different things. Interesting stuff. Anyway.
Thank you for sharing your notes with each of us.
Sure.
Of your sessions you took. It was very good. So thank
Good.
you for doing that.
Glad I could do it.
Scott?
Thank you. I just wanted to let all my fellow board members know, and the public as well, that we are again partnering with the Redwood Credit Union for the financial literacy. The first one will be at Novato High. It's going to be January 26th, which is a Thursday, 2017, from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. in the Gordon Gym. I'm hoping that many of you will volunteer. I'm creating a big volunteer list, my Rotary group. I've had a number of community members and trustees come and help with that. We need a lot of hands-on in order to run this program. So I just wanted to give you guys a heads up that it's coming again to all 3 of our high schools. We've worked that out, and we've got the dates. I just wanted to get it on your guys' calendars. So thank you.
So that was January 26th, you said? Yeah, okay, great. That was a huge asset last year to
Yeah.
each of our schools. Thank you.
That's great.
Trustee Nell?
Well, I too attended the California State School Board Association conference with you all. It was good. We had a good time. Appreciate seeing everybody there. The sessions that I attended were primarily based on upcoming changes in upcoming federal funding, what the state budget looks like was another session, and a third session on some upcoming legislation. So I was sort of paying attention to big picture stuff this year more so than some of the specifics that Trustee Mack went into. As your representative on the Joint Legislative Action Committee for the trustees of Marin County, I just wanted to let you know that we have scheduled January 19th for our annual trip up to Sacramento, and the forms are out if you would like to go with us, and I'll sure that Gladys will see to it that you guys have those forms and invitations in your upcoming packets. The committee itself has settled primarily on a draft of priorities that we'll be bringing forward for the coming year, and we'll share that with you as well, but we don't expect to finalize that until after next Wednesday or Thursday.
Okay.
So that's the report. Thank
Great,
you.
Thank you. I attended School Boards Association, and as well, it was a great turnout for us. I think it's great. It's our professional development. As we say every year, it's the one thing we do, and we can go and pick any workshops we want. You can attend up to at least 7 workshops if you do it every day. So I kind of was like Trustee Nell. I tend to gear towards the workshops that I like is what's happening in the federal government, what's happening at the state level, catch me up to speed. I'd kind of worked on the bond quite a bit, so I was kind of out of the loop on what was happening. So that sort of helped me get back in the groove again. So just some of the things I want to point out was some of the federal issues, and based from the federal election results, as we know, President-elect Trump will be our president. He has appointed the U.S. Education Secretary, which is Betsy DeVos, which supports school choice and is pro-vouchers. So these are some things that we just need to be aware of and be on our radar a little bit that I like to kind of keep abreast of. She was critical of Common Core. She does support local control, which might help us in a way. It might be an avenue that we can go down a little bit. The other one is Congressman Virginia Fox, will most likely be the leader of the House Education and Workforce Committee. She also is a supporter of school choice, but she's also looking to diminish the role of the federal government in education and healthcare, which are not on the Constitution, not part of the Constitution. So she doesn't think that should be part of the federal government, basically dismantling the U.S. Department of Education. So it just, red flags a little bit, and we just want to keep abreast of it. And as trustees, I like to make sure that we keep informed of those things. And the person giving that presentation was Erica Hoffman, who works with CSBA. She's the legislative advocate, and she is great. So if either of you ever have a chance to hear her speak, I highly recommend it. She's well informed and advocates for the students across California. The other one I attended was legal issues are happening in California. That was informative on charter schools and special ed. But the last one I attended was on Saturday, and it was the evaluation rubric and revised LCAP template, which I was really, the LCFF funding, the local control funding formula we approved in 2013 as a state, and its full implementation. The full implementation means the spending regulations, the template for the LCAP, and then the evaluation rubric is the last phase of the LCFF. And so that's what we're in right now. I just need, as a board member, I hope we have a presentation of some sort coming forward about the evaluation rubric. It was all new to me. It's a new it's a multi-dimensional assessment of our districts. And it's looking at your strengths, your weaknesses. So we're still doing the LCAP. We're still doing all of that, but we also are going to get this evaluation rubric. And I see Julia Kempke, hopefully she can, I don't know, or Yvonne can bring something before the board regarding the evaluation rubric. What do I want to say? I guess that was it. How they're going to evaluate is based on color. It's going to be a blue through red, a blue being high, red being low, and it's the 10 indicators that they'll be looking at. So it was new to me, and I think it's something that the board needs to be informed about. So, the other thing I did was attend the kindergarten registration night last week. It's our saying that kindergarten registration will begin, so parents are invited to understand what the process is and how we go about doing that. This room was packed. Do you think there's a lot of people here now? It was wall-to-wall people. So there are many parents out there interested in our schools, and we just need to make sure that we get the information about tours of schools, that they can go tour their elementary school or any other school in the district. But it was very well attended, and it was great. So, yes.
I didn't mention my CSBA time, and I went with Greg to the El Cajon presentation, and they have a commitment from K up to do computer science and STEM education, and we have an open invitation to go down and visit the El Cajon community. And it was their whole board was up. 4 out of their 5 board members were at the table talking about what it took in terms of commitment, but what the payoff was in terms of child success. So I think we should be able to take them up on the visit at some point.
And in fact, they actually have a Bay Area school that would be maybe easier to visit. I just forget the name of the town, but the same vendor who did that work. But anyway.
Great. Thank you.
My daughter's student taught.
Oh. Superintendent Hogaboom?
Thank you. So I have 2 items. The first is a great gift that I was given called Inner Landscapes. And if you guys remember, we have some of these here, and there were 85 of these that were presented and worked with by Lori Marshall, who's a local artist and teacher. And she also worked with our students at Marin Oaks. And so they captured, I'll shoot this down, but basically they kind of talked about the process, and there's poetry and all the pictures that the students created. And just real briefly, let me just mention, I think it really goes to show the importance of art in our schools and our curriculum, and we really do rely on a lot of volunteers and docents to come and help us, and Lori's been a great advocate for the arts. Students decide what pose to be in, what animal and plant to portray, what colors to use, how to incorporate 5 universal shapes, and what words reflect the symbolism of their artwork. Such a rigorous process results in a creative experience where students exert power and freedom. Seen together, the wooden cutouts are an explosion of joy and positivity. They really are cool. The student artwork adds to the welcoming school climate of Hamilton Meadow Park Elementary School, as the students feel ownership and see their beauty reflected around the school. Through Create Peace Project, we facilitated the creation of 85 inner landscapes in collaboration with our funders and partner, the Sausalito Arts Festival Foundation's Artist Teaching Program. Between these covers, we honor the children's genius, their creative community, and the precious adults who support them. So if you drive by Hamilton, those are the cutouts that you see. So I just wanted to share that with you guys, and it was just a really fantastic project. Next up, I would like, part of my presentation, to ask Denise McIntyre to come up. So Denise is a swim coach at Novato High School, also worked a lot of hours on the bond campaign. Measure G, thank you, thank you, thank you. So Denise is active in our community and has a very special guest, Shannon, that she would like to introduce.
So thank you. Shannon actually thinks she's here tonight to present to you, which I am going to give her 1 minute of my 3 minutes. We got her here under false pretense. So Shannon's been swimming for the past 10 years. She's been a member of the Novato High swim team for the past 3 years. This will be her senior year. At the beginning of her junior year last January, she came to me and said, I think I want to try and go to a pair swimming swim meet. Her mother and I had no idea what that meant. We quickly learned there's only 5 meets in the United States, 1 in California that you actually have to be lottery-based to get into. Shannon got in, and part of that is classification of her disability to be able to be ranked nationally. So on October 1st, her family, along with myself and some of her teammates, flew down to Southern California. On her last day, her last event, the 50 fly meters, which is probably the hardest stroke you can do. She dove in, she's swimming down the pool. The rest of us are looking at her time, and we're looking, thinking she's gonna make the cut for the national swim meet. Shannon gets to the wall, doesn't touch it hard enough, so the clock doesn't stop, so we don't know if she's made it. So about 1 to 2 precious minutes go by, and we're waiting and waiting, but she qualified. So in March, you're taking up my time. In March 2017, she will be competing in the Can-Am Games up in Canada. It's where the top Canadian and United States swimmers come to compete. Some other national swimmers show up as well. Just to give you an idea of Shannon, during her swim season, she averages about 1 to 1.5 miles a day, 5 days a week of swimming. She never cuts corners once she got this in her head that she wanted to get to this level. Her teammates, some of them are here tonight, have never looked at her as a burden when she's in the pool. We've never had to make special accommodations. They swim around her, they swim with her, they support her. Novato High really is unique in that way. Interesting enough, when I was speaking to the CIF rep about paraswimming, in 2017, it will be the first time they bring 2 swim events to the state level. Shannon will have an opportunity to compete and represent Novato High at the state level. And what I found interesting is they said the biggest challenge they have right now in getting swimmers there is coaches wanting to support the program. And I'd like to recognize tonight she has every coach she's ever had in her swimming career here with her. Coach Jean, Coach Pauly, Coach Rod, he's been a coach at Novato High for 22 plus years, in Marin County for 32 years. And Coach Rod is her water polo coach. And I simply went to him this season and said, I need pool space. We got to train for this meet in October. He never said no. He never said, I've got other players. He just gave us the space, which is highly appreciated. Other people I like to recognize in her road to the success is our new athletic director, Nolan Godfrey. He can't be here tonight because he's at the basketball game. He was texting me nonstop during her meet, asking for updates. One mistake he did make, he doesn't know the difference between free and fly, but what do you expect from a lacrosse player? And our other biggest supporter is Mr. Pfister, who is standing over there filming. They're probably 2 of the biggest cheerleaders that Shannon has at Novato High. They show up for everything. They answer my texts daily when I have questions or want to give updates on Shannon or the team. And Shannon, this entire team supports you because of your determination, and we love you because of who you are. Follow that.
Oh, God. Thanks. Okay. So, hi, I'm Shannon Dugdale. I'm a senior at Novato High School. I am trying to bring awareness. Sorry. Oh my God. Why do you do this? I'm trying to bring awareness to high schools in Marin County for para-athletes for this new rule where they can swim in a high school meet against all their other teammates and score points for the high school team and be ranked based on all the para athletes in the league, not against everyone in the league. And so I have a flyer that Denise will pass around, and that just has information about this new rule that the CIF created, and I'm just hoping to bring awareness to this. So, yeah, thank you.
Well, you are incredibly inspiring to all of us, obviously, by all the people that are here. So we have a certificate for you. So this is Novato Unified School Districts. Congratulate Shannon Dugdale for competing in a Paralympic-sponsored swim meet and qualifying for the Canadian American Paraswimming Championships in March 2017. You're awesome.
Trustee Mack has a comment.
But Shannon, can you get around the podium there? So I could, there you are. You probably don't remember me, but I used to time your races way back at Riptide. And to this day, I remember the look of determination on your face. It was, I still remember it. So thank you. It's touching. Good work.
Anything else? Great. Thank you, Shannon. Congratulations. Good luck. Okay, that was probably the best part of the meeting so far. Yeah. That topped all of it, I think, maybe. No. Yeah.
Madam Vice President, we just need to figure out a way to take and leverage this opportunity and move the whole league forward and be advocates for these athletes.
Yeah, agreed. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to non-agenda public comment. I do have 4 blue cards here for non-agenda public comment. And we will start with Lynn Wasley. Ooh, darn. Rod Crow. And just for a reminder, everybody, you have 3 minutes, and you're on the clock.
Good evening. My name's Rod Crow. I have been coaching high school water polo for 32 years, 22 of them at Novato. I have had the pleasure and honor of having Shannon as part of the water polo program. She was my team manager, stat person, came to every practice. She is awesome. And I'm so proud to have been part of her high school achievements. I'm here to thank the board for 3 things. First of all, for the new pool we got at Novato High School. It has been a joy to go every day to the pool and see this state-of-the-art facility and watch the kids, when they come through, how proud they are of the facility. And so thank you for making that happen. I also want to thank you for 2 other things that I believe that you were responsible for. One was getting the athletic trainer to the school. It has been a relief to have somebody who knows what he's doing and take on that responsibility. Bigger thing, and I'm talking about Steve DeHart, and the bigger thing is watching him interact with the kids, not just with the physical, stuff, but just his whole, the bonding that he has gotten with the kids, and I think that's important. So I don't know how we got him. Don't let him go. And second, Denise mentioned Nolan Godfrey. 22 years, I have always said that the athletic director's position was a full-time job, and you pulled it off, and Nolan was, or is, the perfect person for that job. He's a great communicator. I have I have learned a lot from him. He is he's open to discussion, whether it's we butt heads or if he supports me. There has been a whole new demeanor in the athletics and in the school with his addition, and you need to know that you did the right thing there. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ron. We like positive comments.
Yeah, I
On
was
a
kind of
roll.
wondering, Rod, how many ADs have you had in 22 years?
Well, we average, we've gone through this another time, about every 2 years it rotates.
Okay, I was just curious.
It's great that you've done this.
The
Thank you.
next comment card I have is Mark Birnbaum.
My name is Mark Birnbaum, longtime resident of Novato and longtime member of the Novato Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Group, which advises the City Council on pedestrian and bicycling matters. And the reason I'm here this evening is the Bike Ped Advisory Committee has passed a resolution, and we'd like the school board to urge the city council to, when Vineyard Road, which is the road that's in front of Sinaloa Middle School, which also serves Pleasant Valley Elementary School, is redone in the next year or so, we'd like the school board to urge the city council to include closing the sidewalk gap on Vineyard and adding bike lanes to Vineyard so the students of those two schools have the opportunity, which in my opinion should be their right, to walk or ride to school in a safe manner, which they do not have now. So we just want to get the ball rolling on that. And from Safe Routes to Schools, the next speaker will be Gwen Froh, who can give you a little bit more information on the whole Safe Routes issue. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mark.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you. Gwen Frill.
Gladys, can you make sure the microphone is functioning correctly?
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity. Gwen Froh with Safe Routes to Schools. I've been with the program for 10 years. It's truly a pleasure to be here tonight, and this was incredibly inspiring. It's all about the kids, isn't it? Yeah. Every day I get up and I think about the kids throughout the entire county and what an impact this program has had. As you all know, it started here in Marin County, and it's now a national program, and we are so immensely proud of that. The lack of the bike lane and pedestrian sidewalks is a problem, safety concern for the students on Vineyard Road. And we just want to say that if you all decide to write a letter and become involved with the city on this, we will support you. My predecessor, Wendy Callens, who you still may know, she runs the Novato Task Force, and she will be working very closely with you on that. Tonight I wanted to provide you some figures to help you in your decision. We have a student tally survey that we do twice a year. Now the two schools that we're considering here in this improvement area are Sinaloa and Pleasant Valley. Sinaloa has 34% of its students walking and biking to school on a daily basis. So that amounts to 280 students per day, and if you multiply that out by 2 because they come and go to school, that's 560 active modes of trips going to and from that school. If you multiply that out by the number of months that we use to determine when the students typically walk and bike to school, which is 6 months out of the year, not a full 10 months, that equates to 60,480 active trips throughout the school year. That's a significant number. Going to Pleasant Valley, we have 23% of the student population walking and biking. That's 121 students, 242 morning and afternoon commute. That comes to 26,000 some odd number, 26,000 walking and biking trips per school year. Combined, that's over 86,000 active trips in a 6-month period. That's a lot of bodies on the street. And a lot of those students use the main corridor of Vineyard Road. So again, we would really like to work with you on this. We see that this is an important improvement that could be made, and we're here to support you. Thank you.
Thanks so much for your comments, and we can follow up more in our weekly agenda planning and go from there. So thank you. All right, so we will now move on to our staff reports. We have several staff reports, so this is really just the staff presenting. There's no direction or action from the board during these reports. The first one is our intra and intra-district transfers, 2016-2017, and Lynn Erickson will be presenting.
I'm not that tall. Good evening, Superintendent Hogeboom, trustees, student board member. As a coordinator of student services, one of my responsibilities is to oversee inter and intra-district transfers. Inter-districts are transfers between Novato and surrounding school districts. Intras are transfers within Novato schools. So I have detailed tables attached, but I'm just going to summarize the key impact, and I'm going to focus on our inters first. So these are in and out of Novato Unified School District. So we received for the 16-17 school year 377 inter-district transfers. Into Novato Unified School District, we received 204 transfers, and out, we received 173 transfers. The total transfers that were approved into Novato Unified School District were 170. The transfers approved out were 89, with a net gain for Novato Unified School District of 81 students. These are primarily for specialized programs for students that have moved and want to continue at their resident school or at the school that they were at prior to a family moving, both ways. Intras for the 16-17 school year, both on time and after our due date, which is the first Monday in March each year. We received 428 intra-district transfers, and we were able to approve 198 of those transfers. The remainder of the students will remain on our wait list for the 16-17 school year, and we've also begun accepting intras for our 17-18 school year as of about 3 weeks ago, and those are due the first Monday in March. And then we'll most likely hold a lottery in early May.
Questions, Trustee Mack?
Sure, I got 4 of them. And this is a rhetorical question, but I just want to give you a chance to answer it. But there's obviously a disparity in the intra-district changes or transfers between applied and approved. Generally speaking, what's typically, why is there a disparity between the applied and the approved? What is it that why don't we approve some of these moves?
For the intras?
Intras, yes.
Capacity at school sites,
Sure.
The schools that students the families are requesting, really is the main
The only
reason.
one. Okay.
Deadlines, our priority is to keep siblings together, staff approvals, when the teachers or other staff members are at a school. But we've been really impacted. We receive a high number of those are kindergarten transfers, 6th grade transfers, and high school transfers, and we were very impacted at grade levels. So we continuously are monitoring it and looking to see where there's space available. It's just, we have
Sure.
to be able to have classes for students.
I got it. I knew it was probably that. I just want to make sure. Table 1, it would be helpful maybe next time. Can we show requested departures to see what schools people are requesting to depart from, not just where they're requesting to go to?
Yes, I have all of that documentation, so I'm happy to include
yeah, just
that.
as we go forward, that's all.
Absolutely.
And then in Table 2, there's something called a renewal. I'm not sure what that means.
It means that the student is already either in Novato, so for an incoming student, the majority of our students for high school are MSA students.
Right.
So they come in ninth grade.
Okay.
Many districts require that they renew each year.
Okay.
And all of the districts have different deadlines for that. So like San Rafael requires a December 31st deadline. So we're processing all of next year's inters right now to
Okay.
go to San Rafael or to come into Novato.
Right. And then, so that makes sense. I get it now. And then my last question, I see that we have, 34 inter-district transfers that we declined. Was that a capacity issue typically?
They're requesting a specific school that we're not able to approve the intros on the
Okay.
wait list, so I can't approve a student coming in
Sure.
to, say, San Ramon or Rancho at a grade level that's full when I have an ongoing
Okay.
internal wait list.
I just wanted to understand it.
And
Thank you.
so I do call all of the kindergarten transfers, and if there's space available at another school site, offer the other school site. Oftentimes the families say, no, I want to stay on the list for this, and I let them know I can't approve it, and I have to deny it.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Any other trustee questions? Oh, Trustee Miller?
Just a quick point. Novato schools are strong, and they drive property values, and so some people can afford to buy a house in the area where they want their kids to go to school, and some people have to try other mechanisms. So the net of demand is property values go up, and that's a credit to our teaching staff. Thank you very much, Lynn.
You're welcome.
Are these numbers, they're on the lower side from previous years, is that correct, or I'm just looking back at previous student service reports and numbers that I had, and
I'm not sure that the total received are on the lower side, but I do, looking school by school, they definitely on the intras were lower.
Okay.
I think because we're processing it all year long until I'm compiling it in a report, I'm not really I mean, I actually sign every single inter in and out. So I'm like, wow, I signed over 400 of those. Wow.
okay.
But-
Well, I appreciate you bringing this forward, and I like to see it every year at some point.
Okay.
I don't know about anybody else. We'll continue to bring this forward. Yeah.
It's been our tradition, the inter-district transfers, we allow them to apply, and space available. We have a school of choice model in Novato, and this is the implementation of that exercise. So parents have, in terms of given the constraints of the school system, we try to accommodate family needs as best we can. That's Novato's been unique in that in times past. So.
Great.
And I did just briefly want to touch on the late numbers seemed high for the numbers that were approved when we had numbers that were lower, not approved, that were on time. And looking at that, those were just families that had moved within Novato and wanted to remain at the school that they were at. And so we allow them to continue at that school unless there's an attendance issue or something else going on.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thanks. Yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Do you want to open? Okay. Our next item is instructional coach update. The last time you guys were here was in this time 2014, so a couple of years ago. So we're happy to have a report come back to us. Trustee or Superintendent Hogaboom.
So while these guys are setting up, I would just like to just to say how proud I am of our instructional coaches. They are incredibly thoughtful. I think they've become, in a lot of ways, the lifeblood of our district. Of course, I could take no credit because they were hired before I got here, and I think probably Shelley and Julia had a lot to do with that, but I think it was one of the best decisions that the board has made. With all the demands that are put on teachers lately in terms of content knowledge and project-based learning and technology and Lucy Calkins and on and on and on, the importance of having a coach who thinks of our teachers first and all the different ways that they can support them, and that's exactly what these guys do. I go to a lot of meetings, as you can imagine, and I went to the instructional coach meeting, which, by the way, they rotate at different sites every month or every couple weeks, and then a lot of times they'll meet there with site administration and then go into classrooms and visit. I was more energized coming out of that instructional coach meeting last week than I've been at almost any meeting I've been at, and that's because of the professionalism of these folks here. They just they're always looking for ways to support our teachers collectively as facilitators, and individually they're willing to go and change their schedule on a moment's notice. They go in and they'll work individually. They'll model in a classroom. They'll do anything it takes to support our teachers. And that's exactly the kind of mindset we want. They're always out in the classrooms. They're not sitting here at the district office. So I just really want to commend you guys and Julia for leading really an amazing team. And I guess one last example of their work ethic is we're trying to work with all of our presenters to keep their comments to the point, and so we can get going. And so, they met here today at 2:00 this afternoon to practice their presentation and make sure that it was done in the right way so they can model that. And I think that's just an example of the professionals and they have. So I just want to thank you guys and let you know how much we appreciate all that you guys do. Thank you.
Well, and I get the pleasure of presenting with our instructional coach team. And I guess that Superintendent Hugaboom just took a couple of our minutes up. So I am going to make sure we're still on time. We have 5 of our 6 instructional coaches here tonight to present about our model and how it's transformed over the last 2.5 years. One coach is not with us tonight. She is watching, I know, online how this is going. Cindy just had knee surgery, but I do want to mention the amazing support, Cindy. She has been with us from the very beginning. She is a passionate advocate for students around math, particularly ensuring our secondary students are successful as well as like math. It's so important to her that last year when we had a math teacher leave us very suddenly in the middle of the year, she stepped in and started teaching. And she taught for a semester last year at a level she never taught at. So she is a trained middle school teacher, has a single subject credential. She went into a high school math classroom and took it over to make sure those kids had a teacher in the classroom. So it just shows you the level of dedication this group of individuals have. So as Superintendent Hugaboom mentioned, we started this journey in the fall of 2014. We started with 8 instructional coaches. A few of them still are with us now. Many of them transitioned into administrative positions and so forth because they are just a very highly talented group of people. In that first year, we trained on a whole bunch of different models. We went to a lot of different trainings, Silicon Valley Math Institute, National Equity Project, kind of is a brainstorming and inquiry on what do we want our coaches to look like, because they really came to us as a group of individuals. And I think now we've grown into a team of a very powerful collaborative team that really does come together to talk about the problems of practice that teachers face every day and to make sure that we're trying to address those. Second year, we did that would be last year, we did a teacher survey to understand how well we're supporting teachers, and then got some more defined goals, and then initially brainstormed our model. I can say in this year, I am every single time we have a meeting with this group, I'm super energized. They make me love my job because they are so passionate about supporting teachers so that we can have the best classroom environment possible. So this year, you're going to hear some of that burgeoning model and how they're going to continue to support teachers. So one of the things that we want to make sure that we're talking about is why do we need instructional coaches? Teachers have had not only the complexity of teaching where they're reaching 30 to 155 students, making sure they're communicating to the parents, differentiating, personalizing the education. We've had a bunch of new standards, English language arts, math, ELD, and science all coming at teachers, as well as a new way of teaching with project-based learning. And then, by the way, you need to infuse skills into how you're teaching to make sure students have the skills to be successful after high school. And then also, by the way, sorry, but you need to also infuse technology and make sure kids are proficient at that. We're asking a lot of teachers. So one of the best ways that we can support teachers is to have trained classroom teachers there by their side so they can work through some of these problems that teachers face. One of the things I want to mention before I pass it off to them is that teaching as a profession is very undervalued. I consider it as complex as being a doctor or a lawyer, and teachers don't get that honor, and they really should. And I think one way that we're really trying to honor our teachers in the district is providing the level of support that we get from our coaches. So they're going to speak more to some of the specifics of what this model looks like, so I'm going to pass it along to them, and they're going to then introduce themselves as we go along.
Hello, my name is Amber Hatfield, and I'm the EL instructional coach for the district. I cover all subjects with the lens of EL support. I work with the 8 elementary schools, 3 middle schools, and 3 high schools. And our biggest EL focus during the past year and a half has been the middle school and the high school. We are wanting to support them before they leave our district off to college or life on their own. But now we are beginning to reach out to our elementary school teachers, and some of our elementary school teachers are using some of our new EL strategies. I personally, when I coach, I use the Kevin Clark model. We have 6 guiding principles that I will use to govern all my decisions when I'm coaching. And the first one is that all students should be intentionally grouped within the classroom. The second is that all teachers begin with a clear learning objective. The third is that all students, as well as teachers, are speaking in complete sentences. We want them to write in complete sentences, so a good way to help them do that is by speaking in complete sentences. That the students are producing at least 50% of the product coming out of the classroom. That all students are pushed to their highest ability, and that any language errors are corrected within the classroom. And as a whole, we use a variety of coaching models. We lead professional learning workshops during staff meetings, grade level meetings, district meetings. We also help with small group curriculum development. We do one-on-one classroom observation with feedback. We lead instructional leadership teams in all content areas, and many of us are also BITSA support providers. And our goal, our coaching model goal, is to create or develop a sustainable coaching model. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lori Campbell, and I'm one of the elementary coaches. And I'm a certified GLAD trainer, so a lot of what I do is related to GLAD. I give the formal trainings to all of the new teachers in the district every year, and then provide support both on an individual basis and to teacher groups for GLAD. I also support Lucy Calkins' writing and PBL development and implementation. So as coaches, part of our role that's been developing over the years has been to be a voice for the teachers. And so what happens is, the teachers are very busy in their classrooms, and when they have a concern or some big idea that they want to share, they don't have the time to email the district or come and visit. So we're there, so they talk to us. And so what we do is we take that information, and first we kind of figure out, maybe talk together and think about, okay, how can the district support them? And then we approach the leaders in the district and say, hey, teachers need this, we have this idea, can we do it? And sometimes they say yes, and sometimes they say no, because as we all know, money is an issue, and they have to be wise about how they spend it. But for us as coaches to be able to be out there and find out what the teachers need and to be able to bring it back, I think is powerful for everyone. One example of that happened was, as a team, we had heard from many teachers that they wanted to have more choice for staff development days. So for the last staff development day on November 10th, we were able to provide them with, each one of the coaches planned and led a workshop. So there were several different workshops for teachers to attend, and there was a lot of positive feedback about that. So we do want to continue to be able to build this bridge and make it stronger so that teachers will have that voice.
I'm going to read mine because I got to stay under 2 minutes. They told me so. Hi, I'm Leslie Smith. I'm an instructional coach for the 8 elementary schools, supporting teachers with ELA, project-based learning development, and I work with teachers who have gifted students. My specialty is connecting the dots. I coach teachers on how to integrate curriculum such as Lucy Calkins' writing or project-based learning unit, and incorporate all the trainings and strategies that we've all had, such as GLAD, GATE, ELD, Daily 5, and incorporate art and field trips all into a comprehensive unit that's differentiated to reach all students. So how do we as instructional coaches support our district? The district, we created goals. Oh, it's not up there. I did change it, but it's not up there. Is equity for all students, student success, staff support, and community involvement engagement. So we as coaches are an integral support team that works closely with the staff at the district office. Again, we are that go-between the schools and the district office. We're that unique voice that can help guide which way we go with to meet those goals. The schools have goals. As you know, these district goals that we have become part of the school single plan or the school's goals. We help the administrators meet these goals, these school goals. In most cases, we are even written into the single plan as how they're going to meet those goals. We help facilitate workshops and staff meetings, and we join grade level meetings to get that job done. Teachers' goals. Teachers have standards and set goals yearly as well. Many times these goals are to work with instructional coaches to fine-tune this craft we call teaching. The instructional coaches have built relationships with the district office, principals, and staff. We are now woven into the fabric of what we call Novato Unified School District. We are a resource that is ever developing to meet the needs of the district, schools, and teachers.
Hi, I'm Catherine Naum, and I support the teachers in math, instructional strategies, in science, understanding the new science standards and the shifts in those, and technology, how to really integrate technology with curriculum in a very effective way. So I guess you could say I'm the STEM side of the elementary coaches. So how are we building capacity of teachers to build a sustainable coaching culture in Novato? As Amber said before, we lead professional development district-wide. We work with school sites, providing workshops on Wednesdays after schools. We work with grade level teams and department teams, planning in small groups. And most importantly, we work one-on-one with teachers, helping them meet their goals and get to the next level. But another way that we build capacity is through our leadership teams. We have 3 leadership teams here: math leadership team, science leadership team, and a literacy leadership team. And all those teams are led by the coaches. The goal of the leadership teams is to promote and build teacher leaders so that they can then provide professional development and support at their sites. So I forgot to say, the leadership teams have teachers from every single school site and TK through 12. So we're actually providing vertical articulation in every one of these leadership teams as well. So an example of what this looks like is the science leadership team all went to the NGSS rollout to learn about the new science standards. And then they came back and said, what are the concepts that we want our teachers to know? What are the most important facts? So our teacher leaders then work together to create modules that will be distributed so that every single teacher in NUSD will have the same professional development. So for example, right here on the, thank you, Manna. So this is our, one of the modules. We have 6 modules. This is one of the modules that Pam Stutzman, Karen Green, and Lisa Raymond developed about modeling and science. And they've created that. They've made a presentation and gotten all the supplies together. And that is going to be shared so that every single elementary school in Novato Unified will have that same professional development. And that was built by the teachers for the teachers. So by starting with a district leadership team and expanding out to create teacher leaders at the sites, we're really creating a sustainable coaching model that we can keep going out and out and out. I don't have the clicker. Okay. So, and one of the ways that we really build the capacity and share modules like this one are through the NUSD Teach website. And this is a growing, working website where there are resources, videos, instructional strategies, rubrics and lots of resources for the teachers, and teachers can call us, and they have asked us for certain things. Can you put this on the website? Can you put this on the website, so that we can start to collaborate together even more? Thanks.
My name is Mark Neiman. My focus is on secondary science and the project-based learning as well as technology. One of my favorite parts of this is the relationships, and we all know that relationships are the foundation of teaching, and it's the foundation of coaching as well. So through our, we are coaching using creativity. We're creating continuity by using communication with our coaching. One of the best ways we communicate with teachers is by connecting with the teachers. There's such amazing work going on in all of our classrooms that before the coaches was done in isolation. And when coaches came in, we had the opportunity to see what's going on. It's amazing in the classrooms, and then connect other teachers who are maybe teaching the same subject or the same level with those great teaching ideas, and kind of spread that throughout the district, because the wisdom in our district is great. We are also connecting by unifying TK to 12. We get the opportunity to actually really be a unified district as coaches kind of connect, especially the science standards, the math standards, and the English standards coming together, K-12, and really making sure that we know that each grade is building on the one previous. And then another piece that we do for really clarifying the communication is helping the administrative team here at the district office actually communicate with the teachers about the initiatives that are going on. Oftentimes, people who have been out of the classroom for a great deal of time forget the complexities of the classroom and forget how much teachers are going through and dealing with. So it's our opportunity to say, oh, great, so this is what you want to do. Let's actually translate it into something the teachers can do, as opposed to this grandiose vision that you want. So it's really a communication from, no offense, Julia, into something that's a reality. And it's that voice that's always here and present that's saying, hey, wait a minute, don't forget all the stuff the teachers are doing, because we're in the classroom with them every day, and really making sure that we're protecting their energy as we move forward. So we feel like we're really strong advocates for the teachers.
Okay. Real quickly, some of our goals going forward as a coaching team is to continue deeper levels of teacher support. You heard a lot of the support right now are kind of one-time professional development opportunities. We want to go deeper and create cycles of inquiry where teachers have more sustained time with the coaches. So next semester we're planning to launch an inquiry cycle where teachers are answering questions that are important to them in their classrooms in a group that the coaches will facilitate. Also, the sustainability of PBL. All of our coaches are going to be trained by the Buck Institute to be facilitators of Project-Based Learning 101. We're currently paying the Buck Institute to come in and do that. Our coaches soon will be able to deliver that training, not free of charge, because we know that we have to pay them, but at a much less cost. We'll continue to ensure that our staff development time is impactful, effective, and meaningful to our teachers. We had a very high approval rating of the last staff development day, and we continue to want to have even higher approval ratings. Over 95% of the teachers said they were satisfied or very satisfied with the experience on November 10th. And we want to see that level of satisfaction even higher, so that we're impacting what's happening with students. And then finally, we have a goal around starting to visit and articulate vertically. So our whole coaching team is going to do visits K-12. So you heard that a lot of them are either elementary or secondary. We want to make sure that we're beginning to see how all this translates at each level. So that's one of the other goals that we're going to look forward to. Lastly, we just want to talk about how we're evaluating the effectiveness. Last year we sent a teacher survey and had results from about a quarter of our teachers on how they've interacted and their feelings about those interactions with the coaches and how that's impacted their teaching. We're going to send that survey out again this year with the hopes to have more teachers respond, as well as get more information on how we can better support teachers. Like I mentioned, evaluation of those staff development days to ensure that they're impactful and effective. Each one of the coaches, we just launched a tracking system so that we begin to understand how are the coaches using their time. Is it in one-to-one kind of meetings with teachers? Is it curriculum development? Are they doing a lot of professional development? So we launched that this fall. We're planning to look at that data a little further as we go forward. And then finally, we want to take some of the information on those deeper inquiries that I was speaking of that teachers will go through to understand how that impacts teachers through some self-assessments of how the teachers are feeling that experience works for them, as well as reflection. So those are some of the assessments we're using going forward. And with that, we are finished with our update. Questions?
So much. Questions from the board? Trustee Aguila?
I'm just so proud of the work that you guys have done and of this presentation, and it's so important what you guys are doing, and so I just personally want to thank you for all the hard work, and it's probably a big relief for teachers to know that you're out there and that they're able to come to you as you know how they feel as they feel. With the survey, I keep always asking this because I believe it's very important that the teachers, and I haven't seen the survey, so I don't know what it looks like, but I'm wondering if the survey, maybe you can talk a little bit more about what it looks like, but I think it would be important if it was anonymous. I know there's times where they need to speak with you face to face, and then there's times where they wouldn't want you guys to know, who's got that concern or that you would tell somebody else. And so it's important that they have this freedom. And so do they? That's my first question. And the second is with the survey, do you pass the survey out once a year, or is it available online where the teacher can download it and fill it out whenever they want? So how available is it for them? And just what does it look like?
So we can share with you the format. We're planning to revise it this year. It is anonymous, and it is ongoing. So it's a Google form, meaning that they can take it and take the survey whenever they want. I think what we do intend to do is make sure that teachers know that it's out there to access at any point. We'll launch it again, kind of a revised format this spring.
And is it going to be like is a yes/no questions, or is it open-ended questions?
There's a few of each those types of questions.
Great.
So
thank you.
Trustee Mack?
Yeah, I just have to say I had the opportunity to stumble into the PD day. I just happened to be out there, and was pretty impressed how organized it was. And then I looked later at the agenda, and I can see how it makes a big difference. So going forward, I think it's incredible, but also this is really important for us for retention and recruiting. I think you guys are going to make a huge difference for us in keeping teachers here and bringing in new ones because we need them. So thank you. Thank you.
Trustee Scott?
I also want to just commend all of you. I think you guys are doing some great work. Lori, I had a question for you as far as some of the GLAD. I know that you mentioned in your presentation that sometimes the teachers maybe wanted to do a project, and I guess they maybe kicked it up to the chain, or you guys reviewed it. I'm just curious, what other kind of partnerships? Is it all of you reviewing it and Julia has the final say? I'm just curious as far as partnerships. Could we partner maybe with PTA or something like that as far as getting something done that a teacher wanted to maybe pilot?
Well,
or
what it really is like teachers might have something that they want to change. Like, for instance, when some gals from Oregon were here last year to do a presentation for Lucy Calkins. And they can only come out like either once or twice a year because they're both teachers, and so they can't be here that often. And so a couple of the teachers came to Leslie and myself, we were in the trainings, and said, why can't the district do this for us? And so we looked at each other and said, why not? And so we kind of put it together with ourselves that, we can do this, let's bring a plan. So we brought a plan to Julia, and she said yes. So sometimes it's better, rather than to just take something that someone says and say, teachers want this and teachers want that, that if we can come up with an idea of how it can be done, then it has more validity, I think, for the leaders to make a choice. Because they have to know about, how much money is it going to cost? Who's going to attend? If it's going to be a PD? Is it going to be the cost of a sub? How is it going to work? So we just like to go in a little bit organized.
Thank you. You guys do a great job.
Trustee Millerick?
So I'm thrilled, first off, that we've got a system that starts to now be a closed loop where teacher has a good idea, you guys work on it, you figure out something, you take it back, they have a chance to improve it. A year later, you look at the same thing again, and that cycle spirals. But it doesn't just spiral for the best teachers. It's spiraling now because of your connection to the entire faculty. It's spiraling for all teachers, and so I'm thrilled at how it's working. The interesting thing to me is you work in the tech field like I do, and you go and you start watching how corporations like Cisco and the major Facebook and Salesforce plan. They intentionally set aside unallocated money. It's exploratory money, and that money is put in the hands of the individual practitioners in their companies to allow for people to take a good idea that they've got and try something new. And in some way, you guys are providing that same kind of facility where if a teacher has a good idea, there's a structure where you can put that in and say, well, it isn't just my good idea and I'm going to get in trouble for trying it. It's an idea that can be vetted and managed and explored, and the net of it is education in Novato is improving across the board, and that's exciting. So I'm thrilled with the model. I hope we can continue working in this model, and thank you for the just demonstrating how well this works, and having it managed to affect real lives in real families and real kids. Thanks.
Trustee Nell.
Mostly just wanted to comment on in the affirmative. I'm really happy with tonight's report and the work you guys are doing in general. And I'm sitting here in my usual cynical auditory nature, thinking, what's wrong with this? But what happened was.
Should I hit him now?
No, what happened was you guys. It's like I turned the page and I went, oh my gosh, that's perfect. That's right. Exactly what we should be doing. So I think just it's hard to articulate how happy I am. I mean, this is really and I'll tell you why. I guess I'll tell you why. One of my top question was what are the coming challenges? And for me, I think we really is still in a transitional period of adapting to technology, project-based learning, Common Core. There's more to come online. So I really think that the model that you have is very supportive of all that, and the fact that you were talking about sustainability and more integration, but at the same time we have focus on EL and the technology aspect. So. Good job. I mean, I just want to say keep up the good work. Obviously, the self-assessments and other things that are going to come forward will help us all do better. But I think we have challenging work ahead of us to complete the transition and take on the 21st century. And you guys are way ahead of me. So good work. Thank you.
Trustee Aguila.
Yeah, I have a crazy idea. Just throwing it out there. So when I think of you guys and your group, I'm thinking, okay, so you're here to help the district and the schools and the teachers, and I think it's wonderful and it's working and it's going to get better and better and better each year. I'm wondering about with the community. So do you guys sometimes connect with the liaisons? I'm sure maybe like they hear from the liaisons hear from the parents questions about the teachers, or where the parents in the community may need some input about how teacher works. And so do the parents sometimes reach out to you guys, or do you guys sometimes reach out to the liaisons? Because I think it'd be great to have that communication between them. Not often, because what you guys are doing is perfect and you don't need more on your plate, but I'm wondering if that's something that you guys will consider or have done.
I can speak to that a little bit. Just, was it this week or last week when a parent came to the district office to talk to me? She had a concern about something that was happening in her classroom, and I was able to just ease her concerns that we were working with the teacher and had a plan to make things, a little easier in the classroom. And also, I work in the EL department, And we have a new group called Elect, and we initially started it with teachers to kind of elementary school teachers to help guide us in how we wanted to go forth with instruction in the elementary school. And now we are going to bring on liaisons and parents as well into our Elect group. So
Well, that's wonderful. So my question wasn't that crazy.
no.
So thank you.
And we've also had an EL parent night where we showed the parents the strategies that are being used in the classroom and a lot of the resources that are available within our district.
Yes, I would definitely add that to your PowerPoint. I think that's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have too much more to add, but well done. You guys were here 2 years ago, and you did a great job then. We were thrilled that you were get off and running, and you guys have really refined your craft on become really leaders in our district. And to keep as much as we can, the professional development here in our district is huge. So we hope to have sustainability in the program and in you guys across the board as we move through the next couple of years. I know I hate to say this, but the budget is a little tight, but this is a huge priority. This is huge. This is a win for our district. And retention, as Trustee Mack said, is a big part of that as well. So thank you for what you do. It's a great asset. You're a great asset to this district. Thank you. My mic's not on, sorry. Talking to nobody.
It's right. All right, well, good evening. Thank you, Julia, for leading our coaches. Very impressive to have our instructional coaches make a huge impact on teaching and learning for all of our students and integrate all the content and skills to support our graduate profile. So tonight I have a presentation. It's a brief presentation to present the College Readiness Block Grant. It's a plan that is required by the California Department of Education on how we will use the one-time funds received in order to increase or improve services for particularly unduplicated pupils to ensure college readiness and how it aligns to our local control plan, our LCAP. So this evening, I'm here to do that. So the first thing is, in terms of how it aligns, it supports what we have in our LCAP under Goal 1 and 2 for student success and for staff success. The staff success is providing resources for professional development. The programs that we have identified that will have the biggest impact with the dollars that we have over the next 3 years of $111,000. So it's one-time funds of a little bit over $111,000. So it's not a lot of money spread out over 3 years, but our team felt that along with our high school our principals and some teachers, that AVID and Get Focused, Stay Focused had a bigger impact on the majority of our students and also with measurable outcomes. One thing about this money is the state wants data. They want to show how we're going to get that improvement and increase the UC-CSU college requirement, also known as the A through G, and also get our kids in that trajectory to be college ready after they graduate our system. So this money is for all of our students at the high school levels. So here's the plan. It's just fairly simple. It's the two programs, as you can see. It's about $37,000 per year. So the biggest funds are for professional development, increase academic tutoring services for our students, purchase additional materials, some parent education and training for unduplicated account families. Also provide classroom-based guidance on through different speakers, through different activities, materials, and some more professional development, specifically on the Get Focused, Stay Focused, as that is new. Our next step is to not present, but to bring back this for action on December 20th for your approval. And then after the approval, then we submit the plan to the state by or before January 1st. And that's it. Questions, comments?
I'll be quick.
Okay.
Because I know we're just about to get back on time. So a couple things. If you go back a slide, okay, in the AVID, no, I'm sorry, in the Get Focused, Stay Focused, the middle bullet, provide students with classroom-based guidance, et cetera. Can you just elaborate what that is?
That's to help offset some of the costs for the materials and supplies, the consumables that they're going to have, the different workbooks. So Get Focused, Stay Focused is going to be multi-funded through different funding sources.
Right.
This will be one of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, generally speaking, we're going to do the same thing each of the 3 years? You know,
Yes.
as implied by the same dollars?
Real focus, go deep. And the thing is that we are already doing this, but we want to go deeper and increase those services. So for like the tutoring, right now, we want to provide more tutors. We don't have enough money to do that, so this is going to help do that. Materials, we want to be able to get our kids to take more courses like the PSATs to get ready for, to offset some of those costs.
Right.
So the money is very flexible. The biggest thing is that one thing that we're required is, if you read on the board cover sheet, we put on there that the board will be provided with an annual update on the impact of AVID and Get Focused, Stay Focused in the district, which will include the enrollment of students in the programs, percentage of students meeting the UC CSU college entrance requirements, the percentage of students scoring standard met or standard exceeded on both district and state. So we have to report this to you and then the state as well annually. So there is, which is nice.
Right.
Yeah.
Last quick question. The deliverable to the state is pretty much the sheet?
It's online, and it's 2
Similar to that.
pages. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just curious. Learning. Thank you.
Trustee Scott.
I just have a question around the tutoring. We're going from how many students served to what's the increase that you're looking for? We're going from what to what's the expectation of, and is it only AVID students? I'm guessing it's only AVID students.
Yeah, so one thing is our AVID students have tutorials every Tuesday and Thursday in the classroom. Right now, because of limited funds, we cannot hire the tutors. So we have.
So how many are we serving? How many are we serving, and how many are we trying to get to?
We're trying to hire at least 3 more tutors, and with these funds, we'll be able to do that. So right now we have so how would I say it? We have 3 tutors, but that's not enough. We need more tutors to provide more services to all of our students. So not all of our students are getting it. So right now we're focusing more on the 11th and 12th graders, but we want to get to the 9th and 10th graders. So.
Trustee Aguilar?
So with the tutoring, are you looking for bilinguals?
Yeah, so we're looking, so the tutors that we have right now are students from College of Marin, any college tutor. And right now, we want to, once you approve it, we want to put out more postings to get more tutors hired. Excuse me? Bilinguals, yes. That's always great.
Anybody else? Yes. Yeah. Oh, Trustee Nell.
So I'm coming at this from the perspective of how do we sustain this? Because this is a one-time block grant, and the purpose of the grant likely is to have an institution like ours see the value in helping us start it up and making it happen. But after that, what's your, I see you have a recommendation coming forward, but I'd like to hear more about how we're going to build this into our own general fund budget and how we were going to sustain these kinds of services, unless you guys don't think it's necessary to do that ongoing year after year. But will that be part of the report coming forward, that we'll be finding a way to continue something like this?
So so AVID is currently in the LCAP, and I'm not going to make up, It's about 300, right now in the LCAP, it's about $300,000 for AVID in the LCAP. So that's one sustainable, is based on the LCAP that we have that plan that we bring. It's also based on what our community says, our stakeholders said. Our sites currently are using a lot of their site funds, their site budgets to sustain AVID for the tutoring and materials. We also used some general funds for FTE. So these programs, AVID, I'm not sure how many years AVID has been in Novato. I'm sure it's been here several, 6, and AVID is a game changer. It's 10 years. So we're going, so many more years. So this right here, this money was a gift from the state to all the districts. We're very happy for it. So for the Get Focused, Stay Focused, that's a plan that we're going to need to include in the LCAP. And also, like I mentioned, is multi-funded. So it's like any other program that it's like our coaches, right? So what's our sustainability plan for our coaches? It's the same idea. It's what we put in the LCAP, and then what you approve as well. So
you mentioned we had 3 tutors. We're looking to hire. There wasn't enough. We're looking to hire 3 more. Well, how many is enough, or is 3 enough?
There's never enough.
Never
We
enough,
would
okay.
like a tutor for every student. We look at our budgets and then we just budget that way. So if right now we can afford 3 more, ideally 10 more would be better. You really want small groups so that the tutorials, you have a math tutor, a science tutor, you have another tutor that's focusing on essays. And then the way it works, if you go to an AVID classroom, they have groupings. Right now, the groupings, they're combining science and math together. They're combining, so it would be nice to have more specialized, focused on content with more tutors.
Well, we actually will be looking at our first term budget coming up in a next meeting. So I just wanted to hear your opinion on the kinds of things that you think are of value and where we should be focusing our locally controlled funds.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And as we know now, decision is made by all of our stakeholders, our community, our teacher, our unions, and we all have a say on what. So you're correct. Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you.
Anybody else? No? All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. This is the 16-17 enrollment update. We've been getting this since the beginning of the year. This is just another update to the board.
Hi, hello, thank you for having me tonight. I'm going to talk with you a little bit about our current enrollment for 2016-17 and then what our historical enrollment looks like and what the projections look like around enrollment moving forward through as far as 2025. So I want to start off by, wow, I can't even read that over there. I want to start off by saying there's way too many words on my slides tonight. And the reason that I have it that way is so that because it's also included in the board report and you also have this packet there in front of you. So if you're out there in the audience, hi, open this up on the board report because you're not going to be able to see it on that screen. I can't. So now I keep talking to everybody about being on time, and now I'm drifting my time here. So as we've been discussing, Novato Unified School District has entered into a period of declining enrollment. In the 15-16 school year, we had approximately 8,000 students, including 270 at Novato Charter School. We're currently serving approximately 7,800 students, which is just slightly more than what we projected for this school year. What we're seeing is that the smaller class sizes that have been coming into the elementary through kindergarten, first, second grade, has now moved into the middle schools. So we still have those smaller class sizes at the elementary, and now our class sizes at the middle school are smaller. We saw a significant drop of enrollment at the middle schools this year from 1923 last year to 1749 this year. So that's a significant drop. If you look at the next table, And this is the historical data around the last 5 years. You can see what's happened at each of our schools over the last 5 years. I'd like to focus more on the colored bars towards the bottom. You can see that in the elementary school, we've seen those smaller class sizes. We've gone from 3,842 to 3,531. In the middle schools, the classes climbed. They sort of plateaued in 2014-15 at 1902 and are now working their way back downwards, 1,749 this year. The high schools have stayed relatively flat, but we have to keep in mind that those smaller class sizes are going to be coming into the high schools in the next few years, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. So it's important to look at past enrollment because that helps us see the trends. It's also very important for us to look at the future because our budgets are based on these future enrollment projections. So on the next chart, you can see what we anticipate happening between now and 2021. Again, I'd like to, you can see the data for each of the schools. The colored bars at the bottom summarize what we anticipate happening. Again, at the elementary schools, you'll see between 17-18 and 2021, you'll see the class sizes continue to decline. Similar trend at the middle schools, and the high schools are still holding steady through this window. Overall, when you look at the grand total, you see enrollment projected to decline from 7,770 to 7,314. You'll see that at some schools, the discrepancy is more profound than others. The next page talks about or demonstrates what's happened with enrollment between 2000 and 2016. You've got 3 lines. You've got 2 lines. One has 2 colors. You've got the blue data. Blue line indicates past historical data. The pink line is projected data, and the red line is the trend line. So you'll notice the trend line is definitely moving downward. That we had a peak enrollment of about 8,100 in 2006, 2007, and then in 2025, 26, we're projected to hit the lowest point, 7,438. So to look a little more closely at the grade level clusters, how the grade level clusters do between now and 2025-26, you can look at this next chart. And it demonstrates again that with the elementaries, you'll see that in 16-17 they're at 3,371. They shrink until 2020-21, and then they begin to grow again. And the projections are to go up, and then they end up in 25-26 at about the same place where they are now. Middle school, you'll see that trend, because they get the kids a couple years later, they will start to increase again, but the increase will happen closer towards 24, 25, or I guess, around 23, 24. The high schools will not see that larger groups of elementary students get into their system until after the 25-26 school year. So if you look at the right column, you'll see that we are going to continue to decline. We're projected to continue to decline through the 25-26 school year. One thing you'll notice is that the numbers kind of jump around a little bit in these charts, the projected numbers. All these projected numbers are from Total School Solutions. There are some things that happen mathematically when you project numbers out over time, when you compare actual individual school data to data for the district as a whole. You get some rounding errors, and the final chart in the page talks about the variance that arises as a result of those mathematical errors. So in summary, we are in declining enrollment. We need to be really careful when we're working on our budget. We need to be really careful when we're making our staffing decisions. It's important to know that in grades 1 through 12, we're always going to make our staffing projections based on enrollment, based on actual enrollment of students. We will look at historical trends about where we lose kids like between maybe kindergarten and first grade, elementary school and middle school, and then middle school and high school. We will use projected amounts or projected enrollment from Total School Solutions for TK and K, because we just don't have the data to be able to make those projections on our own. So that's the report. Open to any questions or comments.
So even in a bigger trend, before I think the largest this district ever had was 14,000 students, long before I was here, when the town was all brand new housing and being built out. High schools moved to Novato High. The kids used to go to San Rafael, and then San Marin was built. That whole valley was built. I never saw that. The largest population I saw was 8,000 students when I first got on the board, but we didn't have a charter school. And those 8,000 students came to us. And if I look at your numbers here, and I went back to, I can't quite figure it. So on your last page in 2025 to 26, you've still got 7,400 students, but that includes a Novato charter school of about, say, 300. So we're going from a historic level of 8,000 before even these dates came in to a level closer to 7,000. And that's a kind of a sea change. We've got time to adjust. You know, we've had class size reduction, so we're serving at the elementary schools 23, 22, or 25 kids in a classroom, not 30. And we have the space to do that. But it doesn't sound like we need more classrooms. We may need better classrooms for a higher quality education, like STEM classrooms that are suitably outfitted with chemistry counters and stuff. But it's, my concern is, a bunch of us watched Rohnert Park Katati collapse because their student population dropped, not this 1,000 out of 8,000, but closer to a third of their student population disappeared, and they just had horrific financial problems. So this seems manageable, but not to be ignored.
Right.
Compared to other districts where we've seen, it imploded. They dropped much faster this, and I don't see any of the demographics in Novato saying this isn't a nice place to live. This isn't a kind of place that if I could move out, I would. Right. So if there's something that I'm reading wrong, if you think we need to think about this catastrophically, I'd love to hear those comments. But it seems to me like this is just, a concern, but not a grave concern, I guess is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Is that, so could you, I guess, characterize your understanding of what this means to us? Because students, what people don't understand in this business, if I had a hamburger stand, what I would do at the end of every day is count how many hamburgers are sold, because that's my revenue. That's the lifeblood of that little hamburger stand. In our business, student enrollment is the lifeblood. Dollars are directly attached to student enrollment. And so these numbers really are revenue numbers with a different face on them. So they have to be paid very close attention to.
Right. No, I share your sentiments about,
yeah,
I share your sentiments about that this isn't what we want to see. We'd rather see our enrollment growing slightly. This is what we have, so we need to be very careful with what we're staffing. We need to think about what we can do with our programmatic offerings to bring students into our system, to keep the students that we have in our system. I think the passing of the bond gives us a great opportunity to improve our schools. I think that we have some very creative ideas that we're going to be bringing before the board for how we can shift some of the teaching on some of our campuses that are, really have an opportunity to give some of the community members choice that haven't felt like they've had choice here. So, I think we have some circumstances, and we're going to do our best we can to deal with them. It's important to remember that in any given year, you're protected from declining enrollment because let's say we dropped our enrollment this year, went down about 250 students, but that means we get our ADA from last year. The state protects us a little bit. Now, we've got a plan for how we pay for that drop next year, but we have some time to figure that out and work with our teams to figure out where we make the moves to make that happen. But I'm confident that we can handle this.
Trustee Mack?
I'm going to assume that this is Total School Solutions that did a lot of the legwork here.
Correct.
Is it safe to assume they went the extra yard to project the potential interdistrict transfers coming in for STEM and MSA and their potential growth, or not?
I would say that it would be particularly strong for MSA because there's more historical information about MSA and the effect that that's had. They do look at inter-district transfers. There's all those calculations are in the report that they provided. I don't know that they have sufficient data to really project what's going to happen with STEM or N, honestly.
Okay. But to kind of make a quick little speech about that, I think you mentioned programmatic. That's where it is.
Mhm.
That's where we really have the ability to bring in students from outside the district and ADA by building those programs. So let's keep doing that.
Yep.
Anybody else? No further questions?
Well, I guess I have a comment. You know, it would be easier for us if it were a particular geographic area that just was dropping off by 400, but this is a little bit of everyone spread out throughout the district, and so that sort of makes it a little more challenging, because ultimately if we were to achieve these numbers sometime in the future, we'd have too many schools. So that's going to be a challenge ahead. I favor the side of doing a better and better job to attract more and more students, and I think we're on a path to do that. But we certainly need to pay attention to this as a community to make sure that we're always solvent and doing the best that we can, and that people are aware of what's happening.
Yep.
Thank you.
Agreed.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with Trustee Nell. And seeing these 3 and 4 elementary schools drop below 300 is a real concern. And how do we make that sustainable? And that's a tough one there. So
yeah, it is.
Programmatic, there's no new housing, I believe, in Novato in the near future that's going to draw a huge amount of numbers. I don't foresee. So we're not going to get anything much from there. So it is, I think, driven by program and communicating to the community of who we are and what we do. So
yeah.
Thank
Agreed.
you, though, for bringing this forward, and I feel like we're on top of it. We knew this was coming. We knew there was declining enrollment, but to actually see the numbers is a little disheartening.
Yeah. Yeah.
So please continue to bring an update to us. We appreciate that.
You got it. Thank you.
Thanks.
No, we're plugging along.
So I will further try to get us back on track here. So this is about school safety, and it's kind of a nice precursor into the video surveillance, which is coming up next, which is a more thorough report. So I just wanted to remind the board that, you know, after the Novato shootings last year, I had a lot of questions about what we're doing to make sure that our students are safe. Something we thought about, and I thought about a lot during the summer, wrote an article about it in the IJ, and really these meetings were follow-ups with our parents to kind of reassure them that our schools are safe and what we're doing. And a lot of thanks to Leslie and to Bill Welch, because we didn't all hit every school, but we all hit 11 or 12 of the schools. Sometimes there's 1 or 2 times I couldn't go, or Bill couldn't go, or Leslie couldn't go, but it was a great team. And we learned a lot from those meetings as well. So as I laid out here, I won't go through it. I really, you know, divide school safety into 3 categories. The first is kind of physical safety that has to do with supervision and video surveillance and those kind of things. The second is counseling support and kind of social emotional support. And the third, and possibly the most important one, I think, is probably school culture and climate, and all the programs we have at our schools to make sure that we are getting to know our kids and giving them the support they need to feel included and welcome at school. Some of the things we learned were kind of interesting. I mean, a lot of people had no idea that we didn't have school resource officers anymore. They had no idea what North Bay Security was. So that was good for us to tell them, because I really think that the advantages of North Bay Security are immense. we get so much more bang for our buck than you would get with a school resource officer. So parents didn't know that. They didn't know a lot about the details between a lockdown drill and a shelter in place and some things like that. So I think it was good to kind of explain how things work in terms of, so I would usually tag team those presentations with the principals, because the principals obviously can explain a little bit more about what kind of bullying programs they have or what kind of restorative justice programs they have. We also usually started off with the California Healthy Kids Survey, and the principals would usually say, hey, here's some things that look really strong at our school. Maybe it's personal connections, maybe it's feeling safe at school. And then they'd usually bring up some of the areas of concern, which had everything to do from drug use to not having personal connections with staff and things like that. So I thought they were great presentations. They were usually really well attended. We'd have from 15 to 30 people, depending on the school. At the high schools, we brought in a police officer to talk about gang awareness. So we didn't do that at all the schools, but we did that at the secondary schools. And they kind of talked about, yes, there are gang members at every single one of our schools and how we manage that. And usually they don't, schools are usually a safe place. The violence that we've had has not taken place on our school campuses, fortunately. Some of the things we've done to work with the gang members that are in all of our schools, like they are in most places. But they also really go to great lengths, I think, to say that Novato is a very, very safe community. There's no place where you wouldn't feel comfortable walking around. So that was helpful as well. I think the last thing in terms of what we learned was about communication, because a lot of parents during a crisis didn't know how are they supposed to communicate. So we learned a lot from that in terms of basically we're going to over communicate that if you have information, you can go to the district website or call the district. That's probably the best place to start. But there's also the school website that we would also be using our voice activated system. We would try to text them, we would try to email them. So it's really a combination of strategies. But the one, and this is kind of in our next steps that we're working on, is our ability to text parents. Because most people, texting is the way that, I think I don't look at my emails all the time because I'm out and about. But when something comes in that's a text, it's probably the best way to get a hold of parents. So we kind of discovered, I guess, kind of inadvertently that EduLink is a system that we're using that has the ability to send text messages out to parents. So we're planning to have that ready in January of 2017 and to change our opt-out to opt-in, from opting in to opting out, so that because I think all parents probably do want a text message if something happens at their school or what have you. So we're putting communication steps in place right now and going to get that information to parents and staff out in January so that we can use text as a normal emergency notification procedure. And then lastly, as I mentioned in here, the board will be asked to prioritize our need for surveillance cameras at our schools. As you guys are well aware, we have those cameras in our middle schools and high schools, but we don't have them in elementary except at Hamilton. So that's the report that Sean will be bringing to you next to kind of share with you some ideas about what that might look like. And that will definitely be one of the top priorities that we'll be recommending to our bond implementation committee because it has to do with student safety. And I think that's it.
Yeah, so thank you for the report. Some of the texts, I know that they can be available in Spanish, and so how would we be able to send some of those texts to the Spanish-speaking community or any other language that would be needed? Is it just going to be all in English?
I think we have I'll let Leslie answer that instead of guessing at it myself. Thank you.
Thank you. We had an EduLink training with our ADCO staff last Thursday, and we went through that, and our call-out system, EduLink, has a translator for Spanish, so we can translate our texts, our voice messages, and our emails just automatically. So, and we can ask, and we can also tell it to send the English to the English and the Spanish to the Spanish. So we have that capability.
Thank you. My other question was, I know that parents can, if they have questions, they can text the code to certain schools, and every school has its own code, right? I'm wondering if, correct?
That's through a system called, it's off the top of my head, but that's it. Yeah, it's, I have it on my phone because I'm not a Novato High student. That's an opt-in situation where each school or sports, or I know with MSA certain disciplines, they have that. But that, that does exist.
Yep.
However, I mean, that's a lot of trying to get parents to opt in. If we're looking for emergency notifications, and we're kind of right now strictly speaking about emergency notifications, but that does exist for schools that have activities, or they want to let their parents know something and they want to stay up to date.
Right. Yeah, so I knew it exists, but I know that each school has its own code. And for parents who have like kids in different schools, in elementary schools, in high schools, and they have like more than one child, in the case of an emergency, I mean, I know that would be confusing. So if they choose to opt in, is there the possibility that the code could be the same for all schools throughout the district? Or does it have to be each school?
So
Because
that's a completely different system than what we're talking about with EduLink. When we're doing emergency notification. So our emergency wouldn't be going out through I know. It wouldn't go out through that system. It would go through our own call-out system, and it would make, say we're doing it district-wide, I believe it would do one phone number. So if you had, it would be, I don't think it would take the phone number from like 3 schools, say you had three children. I think it would just do one, but I'm not positive about that. But if it is school-specific, it would do that school.
right, and so I'm talking about the ones that were
I
the
know,
parents. The
right.
parents reach out to the schools where they have any questions, and then there's the different codes. And so just to get rid of some of the confusion, I know that it's different numbers now, but would it be in the future all the same number?
So yeah, that's a different system, and that's the way it's set up. So we're trying to bypass that system because, like you said, you have to know the code. Oh, Linwood has one code, Zinlo has another. It's called Remind, yeah. So that's
Right.
so that system is still going to stay in place, but what we're going to do is bypass that for an emergency system and just get thing out to everybody, whether you opted in or you didn't or whatever, because this for emergencies. I mean, if you want to set that up for different clubs or something for parents to do that, that's fine. But this is a separate system that we're going to use that we already have.
Right, and so is this system going to be a communication both ways or just one way?
It's communication from us to the parents. Yeah. So it's for us to let you know Linwood's on a lockdown, and then to kind of keep the parents to be updated. That's the primary purpose.
And so what's going to happen with the communication? What are we going to do with the communication from the parent to the schools?
Well, it's not going to be a text because we don't respond to text anyway. So it's more important for us to be able to text parents. We're not really in the business of responding back to tests. So as I said before, it's phone calls, it's checking websites, it's emails, those kind of things. That's the way the parents would get a hold of us.
So it's going to stay the same. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
So this is more of an out communication, again, when there's a lockdown, that kind of thing.
And we're getting rid of the other system. All right.
No, because that's a separate system that schools use that is more for two-way communication on things that they want to do. This is a system that allows us in an emergency to get it out to everybody without them opting into it. So they're almost two different purposes. I would say ours is for emergency communications, and the other system is more for kind of regular communications back and forth. Yeah, not all schools have that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you very much.
Trustee Miller?
So if we have a fire or an earthquake or whatever else, and the principal's dealing and the faculty's dealing with the 500 kids on their campus, they don't have time to answer every phone call and take every text. It has to be a one-way system. A good example of how that worked was the fire up in Lake County. And what happened is the Facebook became the vehicle for how people communicated. Neighbors talked to neighbors over Facebook, and you would find somebody who was in the named group and say, add me, and once you were added, then the text for all of Cobb Mountain that 5,000 people and people like me who were interested would get on. But it was a very effective solution for finding somebody that had a shovel they needed something, or a water tank, or it became the newspaper for that one geographic area. And it's probably something we should find out more about how that worked. It it became what the local paper and the local police and everything else couldn't be. Facebook did, it was a very interesting exercise.
Yes, last week I met with Claire Knowles at Kiosk, and we did talk about Facebook and how we could boost or sponsor our posts to reach maybe about 40,000 people here in Novato if we needed to. So I'm going to have some conversations with her about how to do that so we can start using Facebook as sort of, not necessarily for emergency notifications right now, but just in general. But during an emergency, that may be a really great way for us to get to our community.
Yeah, it worked for Lake County. It was amazing. It worked better than everything else, so people used it, just as a matter of circumstance. Thanks.
Anybody else? Further questions, comments? Trustee Aguila.
Yeah. When we do the Facebook, I mean, I just want to make sure, because to me, I thought that I read different stories during the shooting through the Facebook, and so I just want to make sure that I don't expect, and I never said that I would want the parents to be able to reach out and the school communicate to each and every single one of the parent and answer texts. That's impossible, even especially during emergencies. But I just wanted to make sure that whatever vehicle we use, to make sure that it's through us and that we're in control of it, and that we're communicating properly, and that the parents are not being left out because there's no more texting or whatever, but that there's a way for the community to reach out to whoever's in charge. And so that's all. I want to make sure that they're not left out. Thank you.
All right, I don't see any. Thank you. All right. Up next, we have school security video surveillance, and Sean Roselle, our Director of Information IT, I'll just say IT, is going to present to us.
I think it's interesting that he chose not a yellow Novato color or is that a sand marine green? It's not quite a sand marine green.
Oh,
I don't know.
That's Cal Poly.
Yeah, I think maybe he's biased. I don't know.
That's Cal Poly.
I did actually go Cal Poly.
See?
Go Mustangs. So, trustees, Superintendent Hogeboom and Gladys, thank you very much for allowing me to come here and talk to you about video surveillance. As Jim mentioned, campus safety and security is always a top priority for the district, but recent events have really kind of pushed video surveillance in particular to the front of everyone's radar. So I've been doing quite a bit of research into video surveillance. It's relatively new to me. At the SETPA conference that I was just at this fall, a few weeks ago, this was a quote that came up from one of the systems integrators, and I thought it was pretty good for the research project that we've been doing. It's campus safety is a philosophy, not a list of disparate systems. It is the amalgamation of all these systems glued together by vision and policies derived within a culture of awareness. And the amalgamation, I think, is the key word there that we'll come back to. And so really it's all these things. So video surveillance is first, but it's all these different types of systems, and sometimes it's things that you wouldn't even think of, things like landscape features that can actually create problems for you. So all of these things are things that we need to be aware of and need to factor into the system that we create. So what we need to do first is we need to define what it is we're trying to accomplish. We need to compare that to where we are now, and then we need to figure out how do we bridge that gap. So in defining what we're trying to do, we really brought in a lot of stakeholders. Worked a lot with North Bay Security, talked to a lot of school sites, talked to systems integrators, talked to other school districts that are already ahead of where we are at this point. And so we got a lot of really good information, tried to tailor that to our needs in particular. And so that, ultimately it was not about like the devices themselves, but what is the actual outcome. And so those last two bullets in the very tiniest print possible are really what we came up with. So, but what the goals that we're trying to accomplish is we need to be able to see and record key areas of the campus regardless of the time of day. And the second is we need to be able to access footage for a minimum of 14 days after an incident and be able to provide that footage to authorities in a timely manner when necessary. And as you can see, when we get to the compare that to where we are, in some cases that's been a challenge. So again, the goal here in this particular one, we need to be able to see and record key areas of the campus regardless of the time of day. We have partial coverage at Hamilton and at our secondary sites, but really we have no coverage at elementary. We have the lighting in some cases creates challenges, so we can't really get good images late at night. There are obstructions like landscaping. In one case, a portable was put up, it blocked a camera. So things like that happen. Our existing cameras are aging. The cabling is aging, and in some places was not installed the way it should have been, and it's proved to be unreliable. We find that we don't get footage all the time when we want it. And AMS is the company that really is providing the support for that, and they haven't been a good partner for us. And so all of these things are things we'll need to do. Have not. And then we need to be able, the second need is we need to be able to access footage for a minimum 14 days after an incident, be able to provide that footage to authorities in a timely manner. So the software that we're currently using, Ocularis, is a proprietary software, so that when we try to provide footage to the courts or to the police, they don't have the program that we're running it on, and there's no easy way to convert it to a portable, like an MP4 or something like that. So that's a challenge for us. What we've been actually doing is providing the software to the courts and helping them run it. It's really pretty labor intensive for us. Data storage has been limited, and so right now we're only really getting 7 to 10 days of data. And it's interesting depending on the time of year. During the longer days of summer, we only get about 7 days. So really, like, if we want to provide comprehensive coverage, those bullets right there really show you what you need to cover. High traffic and use areas, ingress egress points, parking areas, and then specialty needs, like things like computer labs or someplace where you think you might have an extra risk. And Jim and I were able to walk through Lou Sutton and kind of go over that site. So Lou Sutton is one of our smaller elementary schools. And that was for comprehensive coverage there, you're looking at approximately 30 cameras and about 15 terabytes of data in order to achieve our 2 goals. And so if you then extrapolate that over all of our sites, this becomes a pretty big project. And so system integration, really, it's all those pieces down below. It's integrating with our network, data storage. We have to have a way to better manage our devices, our cameras, than we currently have. Installation, working with Mark's team. Mark Silva has been a great partner with IT in this, so I wanted to give him a quick shout out for that as well. Lighting, that's going to be a big part of it, also falling on facilities, landscaping. And we have to be clear about our policies around video capture and what is available, what isn't. And so again, this is kind of covering what we just covered. Sorry. And then so what's next is really going to the bond committee. So working with the bond implementation committee, safety committee, and facilities committees, and really defining, because again there are competing priorities, and defining what it is we're trying to do. And if we do decide we want to go for a relatively comprehensive video surveillance solution, then I think we want to go out to an RFP for design services, and really bring in someone with expertise to really to do it right. And so that would be our first step if that's what we decide to do. And then in terms of timelines, depending on what the scope of bond construction is going to be at various sites, I think that's going to probably dictate where we can work first. We don't want to put in cameras and then do massive construction that makes us rip out the cameras. Is kind of the Captain Obvious moment there. And then really setting expectations with the sites and the community then on what we can do and what that timeline is going to look like. And I think that was it. So thank you very much.
Trustee Scott.
So I have a question. Are we going to be putting up any signage letting students or anybody walking over the campuses that they are fully, surveillance is on, that you're being videoed, just as a deterrent so that, students or anybody walking on the campus knows right up front that they are being filmed 24/7 and don't even think about it?
Well, it was actually interesting. So Kern High School District, my counterpart there, they actually started with the signs. So they put up the signs before they even started construction, and because for that very reason, they you feel like that if you are being watched, maybe your behavior gets better. But it is interesting. The biggest call for video footage that we have is really it's really forensic disciplinary stuff that our APs are using at the high schools and the middle schools. So if there was a fight, they can call up the footage and they can actually see, because it's always like, he started it. Well, no, he started it. Well, we can actually see who started it. So so that's the most common use, and that's why it's really the high traffic, high use areas like like the playgrounds that you really do need to cover, because that's actually where our sites really they're the most interested in. So
So
but
is that a yes?
what's
Sign
that?
it, we're going to do the signage.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
that a yes?
Oh yeah, that was
Okay.
that's kind of the cheapest and biggest bang for the buck portion of this.
Trustee Miller.
So some of this is safety, and we know that incident that occurred off Novato High Campus with the kids, it was the license plate reader on the sheriff's car that identified the perpetrators, and they were able to be picked up in San Mateo. So it's hard to put a dollar amount on when you look at it like that, where it's a life safety issue and somebody was brought to justice, because law enforcement had the right tool at the right time, and it was, within a day or two that they were able to identify the source. And as far as I know, they're still pulling that yarn and untangling that mess and picking people up as part of that organization that caused that problem. So I hate to put a dollar amount on it. On the other hand, if we were going to assess this and said, well, what property damage has occurred that this allowed us to either recoup or prevent, and this isn't one where the case, it was true, but we had a student turn a hose loose into the library and flooded the library, and another one flooded one of the gyms, and the gym floor had to be completely replaced. And it was, $300,000 worth of cost. And in that case, they identified the individual family, and I think mom and dad weren't happy about the $300,000 bill they got to replace the gym floor. But those are the kinds of areas where you see some economic measure. It isn't a question of safety, it's a question of property value and protection. Have you got any experience that you can speak to in that? Or if we spend, I don't want to spend $10 million on a solution to save $1 million. That, I guess, is where that's sort of the root of my question.
Yeah, and well, so there's a couple. So again, the Kern High School District, they actually talked about putting video surveillance in actually lowered some insurance rates that they had and stuff like that. So so there were benefits, but the gist of the experience that I got from SETPA is that you can return some of your investment, but you're never really going to have an ROI.
I'd actually like to reiterate that. I think that's a great synopsis of you're going to get some economic benefit, but it's likely not going to be close to what you put in if you're purely talking about just dollars. If you're just talking about property damage and value, and even if you are able to find out who it is, or the chances of you actually recouping that money from an individual student or family are actually pretty low in your ability. But obviously there's other values out there of having the system.
Okay, anybody else? If, oh, go ahead.
I'm going to bring up the policy bullet just because I want to make sure that that's always discussed as part of our plan going forward. I'm confident that you and the RFP and the architects and the individuals involved will come up with the right combination of positioning and megahertz and storage and software application and ease of, but simultaneously, I think we need to be developing a serious policy about who's going to be allowed to view these things. Are we going to let our employees going to be evaluated based on what people see on these tapes or et cetera? So whenever we're talking about this, I would prefer to see simultaneously rules around the use and distribution of these of this information.
Yeah, right. If our system worked perfectly, what we have now, is that what we're trying to achieve, or achieve even more beyond what we currently have? If it actually worked the way we wanted it to work?
I think actually we'd want to do a lot better.
We want to do
because currently our K-5s, there's no coverage at all.
Right.
And so we'd want to have that.
Right.
And our at our secondaries, I think it's time for us to relook at where those cameras point, because when it was installed, in some cases those cameras made sense, and it may not anymore. So.
Right. Okay. All right, if there's no more questions, comments, you have it laid out here what your next steps are going to be in our board report. So you're going to move on with that and report back to us, I'm assuming, at some point, many times probably. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me back. This is very exciting. This is the culmination of a lot of hard work between a strong team of folks from our Classified School Employees Association, led by Miss Sandy Vaughn, and our team from the Novato Unified School District. We negotiated and came up with a tentative agreement, which you have before you, which has been recently ratified by our local CSEA chapter on November 30th. The agreement includes, among other items, a one-time off-schedule lump sum payment, which ranges from $1,100 to $150, depending on the hours worked by the employee, an ongoing 5% salary increase that would be effective December 1st, 2016, and that will be paid retroactively to July 1st, 2016. Other contract articles that we made some changes to were pertaining to comparable school districts, safety, duration and openers, and a big change, which is that for the first time we have a discipline article in our collective bargaining agreement. This discipline article is built closely on our board policy. The purpose of having it in the contract is to help it be more accessible to members and to managers who have to use that system. Very difficult to go find the board policy, and then those are typically written in kind of legalese, so this is written in a little more user-friendly language. And then finally, a memorandum of understanding that pertains to classification, reclassification timelines. So the superintendent and staff recommend ratification of the contract between CSEA and Novato Unified School District.
Questions? Trustee Millerick? Yeah. Great.
I'll second, but I have a comment.
Trustee Nell is a second, but we have a discussion first. Trustee Nell?
Okay. Well, I just wanted to congratulate you and CSEA. I think this is a long time coming for a very deserving group of employees. I'm especially, satisfied or proud to have worked out an agreement that I think, you mentioned discipline or whatever, but it seems like it's more professional in nature. It gives us the ability to have a more modern business relationship, and I think we're going to get a lot more done. And I think this is just the beginning of this improved relationship, and I look forward to doing more for this particular group of employees, because they're very important to the operation of our district, and we could not do it without them. So I'm happy we were able to do this much, and I hope we can do more in the future.
Great. Thank you. Well said. We have a first by trustee Miller, a second by trustee Nell. All in favor of ratifying the contract between CSEA and Novato Unified School District? 6-0, 1 absent.
All right, thank you. Yeah. Yes, I would agree. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. I was like, Chris, don't leave, but it's Yancey on this one. This is the AB 1200, which always follows this.
Thank you. So the AB 1200 disclosure is just a required disclosure as part of the collective bargaining procedures. It's kind of got two parts. The first is just disclosing the financial impact of the settlement. Mr. Koska's item actually already did that, but it requires us to do that in this format as well. And the second and probably more important piece of it is that the CFO and the superintendent both have to certify that the district has the funds available. It can project to have the funds available to pay for the settlement in the current and 2 out years. So that's really the most important part that Superintendent Hogeboom and myself will be certifying that we can afford this document, and we do certify that. And that being said, I'm happy to open it up if there are any questions, but we recommend the certification.
Okay. Questions, or we can go ahead and make a motion. Somebody?
I'll move.
Okay. All right. A first by trustee Nell, second by trustee Aguila to approve the AB 1200. All in favor? 6-0, 1 absent. Okay. Just stay right there.
Got me again.
Okay.
All right, so obviously we were happy earlier today to hear from the county that the election has been certified and that the bond has officially passed. I think it was looking that way obviously for the last month, but we're very happy that we actually have that scanned piece of paper. We'll get the actual certification in the mail in a couple of days. But as we move forward, the significant work of implementing the bond that will be guided by our facilities master planning procedures that we spent so much time over the last year doing, there's a lot of work to be done. And the facilities master plan envisioned a little less than 2% of the $222 million proceeds over the course of the bond to be used on program administration. And during the 2001 bond, the position of Executive Director of Facilities and Maintenance was created in order to administer the bond program. And so staff is recommending the reinstatement of this position, the Executive Director of Facilities and Maintenance. The job description is attached. It has not materially changed since the previous job description, but has just been updated in a few ways and actually kind of simplified to really hit the main areas that this position will be tasked with. I think it's important to note that this person will not be alone. They will always be supported by the board and the superintendent, cabinet, the classified, the teachers, everybody. This is going to be a district-wide, community-wide effort to implement this bond. So while this person will be the day-to-day, will be in charge of kind of the day-to-day operations of the bonds and the facility program, that we will all be supporting this person. And so I'm happy to open it up to questions.
Couple of questions, Yancy. Thank you for this presentation. The first is the position that we had opened for the first bond was described as not a permanent position. So when it was time for that person who filled the position, for the position's work was being concluded, as we closed the position, that person didn't have bumping rights into other positions in the district because they had filled this position that was defined as only during the course of the bond. So is that same provision in this job description?
It is.
Okay.
In the job description, it notes that it is to specifically support the Measure G bond implementation.
Right, because
and
we don't want
therefore-
to get to the end and then have
No.
somebody, end up doing a job that they're not really targeted for or skilled at because the work ended. So when work ends, we can close this position.
Yes, when the work ends, we can, and as we move forward, obviously, we will, as the 2001 bond moved forward, we transitioned into a few positions to, less positions. And so, but absolutely, we are not responsible for keeping this position past the bond.
So, and I'm sorry, did you identify our overhead cost for the first bond? Did you say that earlier? Did you say it was like 2%? Did you say or no?
I said the facilities master plan that we finished envisioned a little over $4 million, which was a little bit less than 2%, was to be used for administrative costs.
So that's a planned number.
It's a planned number.
So could you chase back and see if we can figure out our management cost of the first bond program? Go back through the records, and I think we had some reports that did that, but you could mine that data, I think, and find out. It'd be interesting. The College of Marin paid something like 12% for their project management company, and I believe we got by in under 2% for the same kind of effort, except in our case, the work was remodeling existing structures. In their case, it was building Class A 4-story high buildings. So they're not directly comparable, but neither is 12% and 2%. So I would like for us to organize and staff not only this position, but the way we go about this, it's appropriate for the complexity of the work that we're doing. And we know we're going to be doing some more complicated work this time. Are we planning at this point? Are you thinking that we're going to hire a project management company as well as Greystone West, as well as this employee, or have you got that far yet?
No, I do not envision at this point that this position will be the program manager.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean we won't bring in specialists in different areas, especially around potentially STEM facilities or performing arts centers, or even facilitators to come in and work with our bond implementation team. But those are very small numbers in comparison to what you discuss around program management. It is becoming a more popular. You're seeing it more around the state, but I don't necessarily believe in our case that it would be valuable.
Yeah. So, I guess my beginning position is, this board and this community had worked hard to keep the management cost to a minimum. We were successful in the past bond measure, and I believe when you look at the numbers, it's less than 2% of the program, I believe. I would like us to attempt to structure it so we can get the same efficiencies. Maybe we can't because the program is a little more complicated, but I don't want to start at the 12% model. I want to start at the 2% model.
And I think it's important to note that the facilities master plan does envision that 2% for program administrative costs.
Yep.
And so
Okay.
anything above and beyond that would have to come out of potentially contingency or project costs. So absolutely, we don't want to do that.
Okay, good. So
if we don't have to.
I'm chewing on your ear, and I apologize. So thank you for answering my questions.
Absolutely.
Trustee Mack?
So actually, his questions kind of prompted a question for me, of course. So we currently pay Greystone however much we do to do a bunch of work ongoing. How does this role impact that? Does it overlap? Does it replace? Are they separate?
So Greystone West will be on a project-specific contracts. And so they will be our construction management on some projects. So we will either bring a project by project or a master contract, and then you will approve the use of Greystone West on individual projects as we move forward. They've worked on our solar project. They worked on a couple of the relocatable, the portable installations that we've done. But they will work in tandem, but not on the same So the program, the executive director of facilities and maintenance really is a program manager. You know, this person is moving along the bond implementation committee. This person will sit on all of the site/project implementation committees. So they will be doing that. And they will be giving most of the presentations to the board. They will be working at the state level, while Greystone West will be our project, basically administrator, by saying, okay, we're going to go out and bid this project. We're putting together the bid package. We're doing the nuts and bolts of that. That's what Greystone will be doing. So they definitely will be working together, but not in overlapping duties.
Right, so there might be multiple project managers for all we know.
There absolutely there could be, but this position to administer the entire bond, that Greystone will not be doing that work. But to be honest, they will be sitting, likely sitting on that bond implementation committee or a representative to help us.
They have a lot of background, a lot of history. Yeah.
Will their time be billed out of the bond funds if they help on a bond project?
Yes, they will.
Okay, yeah. So that's on top of.
Yeah, but that is a project specific.
Yeah,
So those costs have been built into the budgets of each individual project.
Okay. All right. Trustee Aguila?
So we won't be overlapping efforts and paying. We're not double paying. We're not double doing our double nothing. It's just,
absolutely.
So
not.
the roles are very clear, and they know what each role is, and so, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, it's a different role.
Yeah. Thank you.
Trustee Nell?
So maybe I see the combination of architects, the project management company, and our own personal person who works for us as a pretty good trifecta approach to this particular kind of an issue. Kind of a hybrid. Trustee Milk brought up, 2% is the best we could do, but we don't want to necessarily be on that high side where we're purely using a project management company. Our approach is tried and true from last time. I think you're going to see a hybrid. There is more new development, new construction in this particular bond. So I think rather than look at it from overlapping duplication, that shouldn't happen. That won't happen. But I think we're actually going to benefit from this sort of teamwork. The architects, theoretically, they're working for us. The construction management team, we hire them to work for us, but we will also going to have an individual who really does work for us and puts our priorities ahead of those companies' priorities or subjective decision-making process. So that's really valuable in this particular process, is to have someone in there going, hey, you know what, I care about the Novato students, not so much what an architect's vision is or what a construction manager might see as acceptable work or craftsmanship. So I look forward to the combination.
All right, so to move on, the recommendation is to approve the reinstatement of the Executive Director of Facilities and Maintenance and approve the job description. Okay, Trustee Miller gives a first and a second by Trustee Scott. All in favor? 6-0, 1 absent. Okay. All right, our last item, this is for the board, and I will present it. It's in front of you on your table is a pink piece of paper, which is our board committees. We do this this time every year, where we revisit our committees that we serve on as individuals and representing the board. You have the list in front of you. There is a couple changes. On the pink copy, you'll see on number 5, there's a name, Tom, it's now Ross. And on the flip side, and I'm going to turn this over to Superintendent Hogaboom, we have added 2 things: District Leadership Team and Special Education Parent Committee, number 4 and number 9. These are already existing committees, but we're adding them in order to have board representation. So I'm going to have Superintendent Hogaboom explain those.
So just briefly, from my perspective, the two main educational committees are the district leadership team and the district advisory committee. And those two groups are helping us move forward towards our graduate profile. So the district leadership team now is mostly teachers and mostly focused on communication, collaboration, and critical thinking, and coming up with assessments for that. And then the other one would be the district advisory committee, which is primarily it's teachers, administrators, and then community groups. And that one is really looking at cultural competence, cultural competence, character, and conscientious learner. Thank you. That's what happens when the 10 o'clock hour comes. And so I just think it would be helpful if the board was interested to be able to see how that committee works and how they decide what the rubrics are and the process that are used. Just like I love having a board member, when they can, come to our district advisory committee. So that's the district leadership team. The last one is we do have a quarterly meeting of special education parents. We've had 2 of those so far, and the idea there is to really have a topic of interest to parents, but also to have a give and take with parents to give parents ideas and suggestions on different things. So those are those 2 committees that I would love to have. I mean, some of these you can have 1, 2, 3, but I would just love to have 1 or 2 people if that's possible.
All right, is there any interest? Okay. Did you have a question, Trustee Miller? Well, I was just going to go to the district leadership team. We just need 2 people to possibly sit on that. If anybody's interested, you can speak now, or we can return to it later on. I'm interested.
I would love to do that. My schedule's going to be challenged, so if you put me down.
Maybe as an alternate? Yeah. Okay. And Trustee Scott was interested in the district leadership team. Okay. So maybe as an alternate. As long as we at least, even if we at least have 1 trustee, that would be great as well. Anybody else interested? We have the special ed as already Trustee Aguila and Trustee Scott. You had expressed an interest in this committee, so I think it's appropriate that you both serve on that. So, anything else?
I have an interest in the leadership team, and I just think it would be some continuity from what I've been.
Okay, so just to clarify, district leadership team, we will have Trustee Scott and Trustee Nell as the 2 trustees, and the alternate being Trustee Millerick. And so Trustee Millerick has a question on number 5.
Yeah, I get the bond, the facilities committee to become the bond implementation committee. So the bond is $222 million. And if I see 3 trustees sitting here who would go regularly, and of course the 4th couldn't go, because then you would have a quorum.
Right.
And that cuts out the other members of the board. So I think we got a problem on how this is structured. I don't understand how this, as a mechanism, works, how you get either the effective board with 7 members, or you get a representative who goes, who brings the information back to the board. I don't understand how this works, and there's going to be some big dollar decisions made in the near future.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to have a more detailed conversation we can have at 10 o'clock. This concerns me.
Is it the number of trustees, or just that fact that trustees are serving?
Well, it's, if somebody walked up to me right now and said, okay, look at what are you gonna build in the first year, where's the money gonna go, how much, which cash? If it was the superintendent and his staff and our construction manager, and they brought the recommendation to the whole board, that would make sense to me, and it would be in public, and there'd be an opportunity. But to put three, almost a quorum of trustees sitting down with staff and making decisions, and it comes back to the board for ratification for this decision, still on the contracts, I don't quite understand how we participate as a board in that model. It seems to me like we just walked away from our responsibility. Half of us did. So I'm uncomfortable with this at this point, and I don't know what the right answer is.
Okay. Superintendent Hogaboom.
So the purpose of that committee is, as you know, there's going to be a ton of work to do to prioritize all the projects. And that bond implementation committee probably going to have 20 to 25 people on it, representing all of our schools and different facets. So that committee, though, is really going to be the key one that's going to go through and make recommendations to the board. So they're not making any decisions because the board, you guys will be making all those decisions. But I don't think, we will also, as we've talked about, we will also be having study sessions. We have one on the 21st of January from 9 to 12. So, facilities are going to be on every single agenda that we have from January until the next couple of years, probably. So, this purpose of this committee, though, is somebody has to do the groundwork of sifting through the facilities master plan and, coming up with those recommendations, and some of that's going to go back to the school. So this is just one group. We probably will have an executive committee of that bond implementation committee as well. So it's going to go through some different iterations, but I don't think the board has the time to be having every single item on that priority, come to all 7 board members. So really, this is a way for some members of the board, you're right, those 3 people, or you, if one of them can't be there, can have some input, but all the big decisions are going to come back to this entire board in public. And so this is just a way to get some of those priorities and things gone and discussed. But also, if we need to have more facilities study sessions, we'll have those as often as we need to have those. So that's kind of the intent behind it.
My concern is that there's 25 people, 2 from each campus, and they have a hard conversation. My concern is you basically got half the board sitting here, and that's my concern. If you said no board members or 1 board member, then I would know that when it came back here, we would have a deep discussion in front of our community. So,
I see your point. Yeah.
so I'm inclined to say pick 1 board member, don't pick
4.
3 or 4, and then it mostly becomes a staff function, construction manager, to start weighing the balances. But then you're obligated in public to present to a board who acts like a board and has the community's interest as a board, and then says, okay, you recommended 5, but we're going to approve these 4 for now, and we need more information on the last. But this comes forward with a cloud. You don't know. It's public process being conducted in a meeting that the public isn't generally invited to, and maybe, in fact, doesn't even have a right to attend. So that's my issue. If we put 1 trustee in there, and it worked just like you said. I agree. It's going to be an awful lot of work to get some of these items filled out to the point where that they're executable. I don't diminish the work. It's just a governance model issue.
So I actually share similar concerns as Trustee Lorick, and I remember this conversation from 10 years ago, and we actually went in the direction where we just limited it to 2, and we also made it clear that they were 1-year terms. So I'm not, since we're sort of modeling previous experience that went well, and we just went through the facilities director position, we're modeling that. I would suggest, again, I don't know that we need to settle this right now, and it's usually under the purview of the current president and vice president to make final decisions, but
I'm fine eliminating myself from this committee, to be honest with you.
but I would say 2, and
I think Greg and Tom are probably the ideal people, to be honest with you, personally.
It's not who to me.
Yeah.
it's the number.
It's the number.
It's the
It is the
number.
number.
I get that.
It's important that
But
the number.
in order for me to justify for me to take me off, I'm fine with that, so.
No, well, appreciate that.
Come back with full board and let Tom weigh in on this as well. That would be, I just think, for me, I'm in agreement with you, Trustee Millerick. There's too many trustees serving on that committee, but I would also like, since Tom isn't here, I would like to have his voice and his weigh in on this. So if we could table it.
Yeah, let's table
and
it
come
and
back,
we'll bring it back.
I would feel better.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so the direction is that it will be tabled and be brought back on the 20th of December. All right.
Is it possible to propose a motion that accepts all the committee assignments except for Committee 5? That way we could sort of get schedules
Yeah,
going.
we can do that.
So Okay, so I will second trustee Millerick's the amendment to the recommendation, which is accept all committees with the exception of District Committee 5.
Okay. All in favor, sorry. We had a first by trustee Millerick, a second by trustee Nell. Oh, we have discussion, hold on.
The pink sheet's different?
You have 2 5s on here. Can we say 5 and specifically state that it's for this facilities committee?
Yeah, I'm going to go with that each one of these committees is this particular category.
Yeah.
So when I went district appointed committee 5 is the one to be clear, that's the one that we're talking about.
Okay, so we have.
So as amended or clarified. That,
Thank you.
All right, all in favor? Okay, 6-0. That's been in your drawer. All right, just to wrap us up, our next regular scheduled board meeting is December 20th, beginning at 7 o'clock here. We are still in session as a district. I think our last day is that Thursday, and then we're off for 2 weeks. All right, meeting adjourned.